Grab some cans to go. Fieldworks got your bases covered. Check them out at fieldworkbrewing.com to learn more. That's fieldworkbrewing.com.
This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Hey, hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the end of the season edition of A's Cast Live. Hard to believe, Commander. We are done with the 2023 season. And I think I can speak for a lot of people. Thank God. I am ready to move on. Pitchers and catchers, if my calculations are correct, pitchers and catchers will report in 98 days. So you've got basically 98 days to clean your act up and figure it out. Everybody. And boy, there has been a ton of news. Unbelievable.
Just today alone.
Just today, like you wake up, what? That happened? So we've got a great show for you, as this will be the final, kind of the finality of the season. And then what? The next time you will see us will be in Nashville, Tennessee for the baseball winter meetings.
Correct. That's December 3rd. So, yeah, December 3rd through the 6th, we'll be down there. We'll find out where the A's are drafting, because the draft lottery's then the Rule 5 draft. Who's going to the Hall of Fame?
Well, we're going to have to get to the airport because the Rule 5 draft is at the very end when people are getting out of Dodge. Will we be there in Nashville when the Rule 5 is going on? We were in San Diego.
I think we'll be probably heading to the airport when it's going. If it's in the morning, we'll be there. But if not, if it's in the afternoon, we got to head to the airport.
Well, remember, you might say, Rule 5 draft, who the hell cares? Well, last year, as we were at the winter meetings in San Diego, the Rule 5 draft became a really big deal for the A's because they found their first baseman and a guy that we love here on A's Cast Live. That is one Ryan Noda.
Correct.
So you play your cards right. You find a player that is in a system where he's being blocked down in AAA, and all he needs is a shot. The perfect place to draft that guy and bring him to is Oakland. And love it. Ryan Noda. Think about Ryan. Ryan Noda. Who's Ryan Noda? Now, it's like when you think of going into the next couple of years or until he plays himself out of the position, first base is Ryan Noda's. It was a terrific Rule 5 pick by the Athletics. Scott Emerson, the pitching coach of the Athletics, is going to join us at 1:30. Cool once again to have the pitching coach of our team breaking down the postseason, what he saw. We got numbers on like ERA between bullpens and starters. Something kind of alarming that we will talk about. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer about the postseason, but when you start having certain names that are never going to be household names, they're never going to be stars, but yet are so important, is that good for your game? Yeah, when Spores is a big deal, Spores. The sporting world has no idea who Spores is. Greatness is made. The reason why there is a Steph Curry, the reason why there is a Tom Brady, a Michael Jordan, a Bird, a Magic, a Montana, a Rice, on and on and on and on and on.
Gretzky, so we don't leave out hockey.
Don't leave out Gretzky. Mario Lemieux.
There you go. Thank you.
I mean, you look at the greats of the greats. Mark Messier saying as a Ranger, we will win tomorrow. and coming through at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. It matters. It's how you build your sport. It's the entertainment business. But if you said to most of them, hell, if I said most of people in Dallas and in the Arlington area, who Spores is, what position does he play on the Cowboys?
Raiders, is he the Cowboys long snapper?
I get it. It's about winning. But when you have record low ratings and late bullpen guys are the story that no one knows who the hell these guys are, it's kind of a problem. It's kind of a problem. We'll talk to Scott Emerson at 1:30. Eric Nadel, the Hall of Fame broadcaster for the Texas Rangers, will join us. I'll say this for the Rangers. As much as the praise will go to the players, as much as the praise will go to the manager, his staff, the front office, you think about guys that have worked for the organization for a long, long time. Because you know what? Players come and go. Something that I've learned, players come and go. Managers come and go. Front office people, they come and go. People like Eric Nadel have been there for a long, long time. And I'm so happy for him. Hall of Fame broadcaster, Ford C. Frick Award winner. All the bad broadcast, all the times in the booth where it's 8,000 degrees in Texas, all the rain delays because of bad weather, to win it. And I know how humble he is. He's going to give credit to everybody, but I'm really happy for the people that have been around the Rangers for a long time when, as the Texas Rangers, and we deal with it with the A's, is even in your own market, you're fighting for brand awareness because you're always going to be smaller than other teams. No matter what is happening with the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, how was that bet I made yesterday in Reno on the Eagles?
What was the bet?
I had the Eagles.
Oh, that worked out pretty well.
How was my bet on the Raiders? The Raiders are back.
I told you not to take. I told you what you asked me about Pitt, Florida State, and I said Pitt stinks.
That was a great call, by the way. I was thinking about you the whole time because it was 0-0 for a long time, and you're like Seminoles. Seminoles would come on, but yeah, I was thinking about you. As Pitt held tough all the way through half and in the third quarter. I have some observations over the weekend being in Reno, where I did not leave the casino. I did not see outside for around 40-something hours. I was inside the casino and never left. But a lot of observations of watching human beings, our big group, watching all these other groups, and watching what people really care about. And Spores is not one of them. And how people consume the sport that's dominating everybody else and how we consume our sport that we love so much. And maybe there needs to be dramatic changes. We can talk about that. So Eric Nadel will be here at 2 o'clock, and then our buddy Mike Ferrin at 2:30. He is the host of Power Alley on Sirius XM. It's at 7 a.m. our time with the great Jim Duquette, the Duke. He was just calling games at the, once again, something that I know the rest of the sporting world could give two you-know-whats about. But in our little baseball world, Arizona Fall League's a big deal for players. You can really make a name for yourself. You go down there, and you're just not impressing your own organization, but you're impressing the other 29 of the teams. And you can make a giant leap in your career based off how you play in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, the All-Star game was last night. I think Max Muncy had one at bat. I think he grounded out. I believe Mason Miller was the big standout last year for the A's in the Fall League. And look, that propelled him into making the majors in late April, early May, and he was already there. So Ferrin's calling the games.
For the Phillies is a great example. He went down there, made an impression. Next, he's in the playoffs last year. You go from the Arizona Fall League to how many months later you're playing with the Phillies in the playoffs last year and the World Series.
One other thing, baseball related, before we get into all the news today and the Rangers. Do you know who made the final out for the team that won the Japan series? It's former A and Dodger.
Oh, it's Sheldon Noisy.
Sheldon Noisy. I don't know why I just thought of that, but we were talking about the Arizona Fall League. I don't know if Sheldon Noisy ever started in a Fall League, but Sheldon Noisy with the game, the last out of the Japan series for his team to win. So, because all the news about Yamamoto, the pitcher from over there who's going to come over and get a lot of money, and rightfully so. So
25 years old, last start, 9 strikeouts, no walks. Sky's the limit for this kid, basically. Once again, we haven't seen him. Your guy, Fuji's going to be back on the market. And by the way, Sheldon Noisy over, where was he? In Japan?
Yeah.
I could not care less, according to Rick Barry. Sheldon Noisy, I'll never forget. I teed him up. Where's the golf ball? I teed him up. It's this great story that I got from Billy Owens, assistant general manager for the A's, about Sheldon Noisy. He was pissed about going back down. He was telling the front office, I've deserved to be here, blah, 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 blah. Goes back down, puts up numbers, comes back. So I teed him up, and he gave me one of the worst answers ever. And the interview was horrible, and I was like, Sheldon Noisy. And then, of course, got off to that hot start, and then he just stunk. And then he's over in Japan.
When we go through who name the A's from 2022 and 2023, Sheldon Noisy was on the team last year.
Yeah, he's 2022. Mary got off to a hot start.
Yeah.
Sheldon Noisy was hitting and then just flopped.
And then, now he's in Japan.
He's gotten every shot in the world. He's been given shots. Sheldon Noisy, sorry. But yeah, the end of the season, hard to believe that where we started this year, the World Baseball Classic. And it was during the World Baseball Classic that Bruce Bochy talked about wanting to manage again. Where he was pumped up, he's getting the job, and he's going to manage again. And you're like, wow, well, he's had the hip, he's had the knee redone. How's that going to work for the Texas Rangers? I'm happy for the Ranger fans. 62 years after their inaugural season, where? In our nation's capital.
They were Washington Senators, yeah.
They get their first title. So check off the teams that have never won the World Series. Rangers are now off that list. I'm not sure there's a lot that you can take. I thought there was a really bad article written in The Athletic about all of a sudden, spend money and you win. And you're like, what? Wait, do I need to put do I need to put the Mets and the Padres and the Yankees on the phone to have this conversation? It's not all about money. You're kidding yourself if it's all about money. A lot of things went their way. I think probably the biggest takeaway that I'll have from the postseason is not the rally monkey. I got to get him out of the way. Here, stash your rally monkey somewhere until they hire a manager.
We're getting close.
Actually, it's really two things that really stand out from this postseason. And I'm wondering, and something I'm going to address with Scott Emerson. And I know baseball loves to talk about how long its season is. Well, don't you think the football season's a long season?
Was it 18 weeks now, 17 games?
I mean, it's a long season in as someone who's done a lot of games on the sidelines, it is a horrifically violent game. No baseball player is going through what an NFL player. You have the biggest, strongest, fastest human beings on the planet killing each other every single play. Nobody in baseball is facing that kind of trauma. Nobody's facing that kind of violence. It's straight legal violence every single play in college and pro football. It's a long season. NBA. Ever since they put those cameras up atop the arena looking down on the floor and they started monitoring, how much do these guys actually run? These are all big men, big feet. What's one thing that taller humans, what's one of the problems? What's one of their defects in life? Really tall people?
Injury prone?
Bad feet. You got these huge human beings running up and down the floor. They're not a bunch of skinny guys running. How many triathlons do you see are 6'10"?
Not many.
Not many. Running is not a great thing for tall people. But yet, in the NBA, they run a lot, and it's a long season. Baseball, my point is the sense of urgency. Can you master the sense of urgency? Because baseball people will tell you, oh, yeah, God, it's a long season. Dog days of summer. Every single day. Well, you know what? You got these teams that have gone out and boat raced the competition. And when it's time to have urgency in the postseason, where obviously scoring first matters, Obviously, every out, every inning, everything is so critical, they flop. The Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers, the last 2 years, have absolutely flopped. So, however you want to figure it out, you need to figure it out. Because the Atlanta Braves hit the most home runs and had the highest batting average in baseball. So they did both. Now, they didn't have the pitching. You could say pitching is one of the reasons, but their hitters didn't hit. Their hitters didn't hit. When it became time to say, all right, this isn't some regular season game in July, this is now the playoffs, you have to perform now. Now. There's a sense of urgency now. Braves don't got it. Dodgers don't have it. They just flopped. They folded. I mean, literally, the Atlanta Braves, how many games did that go, that 5-game series?
With Philly, was it 4 or did it go 5?
I think it was 4. I think they only got 1 win. How many wins do the Braves have in the last 2 years? They've been bounced 2 straight division series.
Yeah, 3-1. Let me see. Yeah, game 4. So it's 4-game series.
Yeah. You won all those games, you set all those records, you did all those things, and you had 1 win in the postseason. Where is your sense of urgency? And I will ask Scott Emerson, can you have that? Is there a way to train instead of this monotonous long season? Is there mental tricks? What do you need to do to be able to say, we got urgency? Because we had urgency, and they had it for a long time, because that is the thing about being a team that doesn't just outrace everybody and you get complacent. Because obviously these teams who win a lot of games have a lot of talent, right?
Fact, yes.
So this is a mental thing. It's not a talent thing. It's a mental thing. But you think about the D-backs. How much urgency throughout the season do the D-backs who get out to a good start, then they fall back, and there was multiple points during the year where the D-backs are like, this is going to go one of 2 ways. We're either going to stay in this thing or it's El Foldo. Like, what are you going to do? You going to fold or you staying in it, right? Well, they end up staying in. But they had certain points during the year where it's like, guys, we got to, it's got to be now. It's got to work now. Texas Rangers, first place all year long, and all of a sudden, wham, here are the Astros. And it hit them right in the face. Think about that. Here you are. You're like Michael Moore. You're fighting George Foreman. You're the heavyweight champ. Foreman's an old man. And I can't remember what round it was. But all of a sudden, Foreman goes, wham, and knocks you down. Remember that fight?
That's probably before my time.
No, you were alive.
Foreman and
Michael Moore? Look that up.
Let's see.
It was in the 2000s.
Oh, was that?
You just don't know boxing. When was Foreman Michael Moore?
Foreman, Michael Moore. Look back, 1994.
Oh, it's 94?
I would have been, depending on when it was. When was it? November 5th.
I guess I was really scratch that on the 2000s.
So I would have
94?
been. I would have been 6 years old. Yeah,
I was in college. Yeah,
I remember very well.
Look at Michael Moore. What does he look like there on the ground?
He's on the ground.
He's on the ground because George Foreman kept going like this, and Michael Moore's just beating on him, and then Foreman one right hand, whack, and he was out. Moral of the story is that's what the Texas Rangers were. And the Texas Rangers battled, got into the playoffs on Saturday, game 161, popped the champagne like they should, and then went out and stunk the next day. And the Astros won, and then the Astros won the West. Now, here's a decision. What are we going to do about this? We got to get on this long-ass flight. Probably the longest in baseball would be Seattle to Miami. Second longest would probably be Seattle to Tampa. I'm assuming. I just know I've gone with the Raiders. I've gone from Miami to back to the Bay to Oakland, and it took forever. It's a long flight. Rangers had a long flight to Tampa. What are you going to do about it? Well, you can feel sorry for yourselves and say this sucks, or are you going to go take it out on the Rays? It's that old Larry Bird story, right? When they got stuck in the snow and they couldn't fly out, and they're playing the New Jersey Nets, and they finally were able, I think they were able to get out of Cleveland, and they finally get there, and the bus driver says, we can go one of two places, hotel, horrible storm in the east, says, Kevin McHale tells a story. Bus driver says, you can go to the arena or you can go to the hotel. Well, after being there, because they flew commercial back then. So we're going to go to the arena. And so the Celtics they've been in the airport since like 7 a.m. They finally arrived at the arena, and they're all dog tired. Finally, Larry Bird stands up and says, I don't know about you blankety blanks, but I'm going to go out there and do blankety blank to the Nets. Larry Bird walks out on the floor to Bernard King, Hall of Famer Bernard King, and says, don't take this butt whipping personal because I've been eating hot dogs all day in the airport. Because Larry Bird talked trash and was tough and backed it up. He went up to their star player before the game, said, I'm going to kick your ass. And don't take it personally because I've been eating hot dogs. Well, that's the Texas Rangers. Hey, Tampa, don't take this personally, but we're pissed we got to come here. And Tampa does what they do. They fold, don't score, and then they move on to Baltimore. And then the Rangers are looking around going, these guys are not better than us. They're not. I get it, what they did in the regular season, because what we're figuring out here, and baseball people don't want to talk about, regular season, great. What you do in the regular season, we pump up our regular season so much in baseball, maybe that's the problem, because regular season doesn't matter. Regular season is get you in the postseason, and baseball people have a hard time with, once you get to the postseason, you're 0-0. Nobody cares what you did during the regular season. And you know who didn't care about the Orioles' regular season? Who would that be?
Sorry. I was switching the ticker, and I kind of lost what you're saying.
The Texas Rangers. Oh. Texas Rangers could not.
They didn't care about their 100-plus wins?
As Rick Barry said once again, I could not care less. They couldn't care less about their little victory in the AL East. Oh, that's great. You won the AL East. Screw you. You're out of here. And then it's the Astros. Really the best rivalry. I mean, right now, is there a better rivalry in baseball than Houston? I mean, when you've got Corey Seager standing up and taking shots
at Bregman,
it is on like Donkey Kong. It is awesome.
Don't say best rivalry, because you know how many people are going to be Yankees, Red Sox.
What, the two last place teams in the AL East?
Damn right they were.
Yeah, no one cares. Only people at ESPN.
What about Dodgers, Padres?
Nobody cares.
I would say, yeah.
That's not true. Oh. Another big bet for me in Reno this weekend.
Gundy?
I'm a man. I'm 40. My guy Gundy over Oklahoma. The last Bedlam.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was a great win. But I had a lot of bad losses, too. I will go over some of my horrific picks that I had this weekend. As a baseball employee, it's legal for me to gamble in the state of Nevada. True or false?
True.
If you actually listen to those seminars, we that might be the one seminar I actually paid attention to. That, and then, of course, harassment, diversity, those are all important also. Watch those. There's some that we have about some stuff that I know maybe you gloss over. The gambling one you got to pay attention to. I know for a fact I am good when I am in. I can bet football, and that's all I bet. I can bet football. By the way, a lot of horse racing going on this. It is amazing the amount of people around the world that are betting horse racing. It's insane.
It doesn't surprise me, but as someone who doesn't gamble, I don't know anything about it. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
They're running at Santa Anita down in L.A. They're running around the world. There's horse racing going on around the world constantly. There's always people betting on horse racing.
Are they going to tell me?
I know nothing about horse racing.
Are they going to tell me who are gambling on Formula One or something like that's something?
No. Horse racing. They got the chariot races. They got dog races. But there's some big racing going on this weekend. So that was like a big deal, like trying to be in line to bet sports and horse racing. They had to create multiple lines because horse racing was big. I don't know what the event was. We'd have to get one of our horse racing aficionados on. But horse racing was big this weekend. And they're just screaming. The guys are coming around. Go! You know, everybody's got a – Where's Chris had a big win. I was a big Where's Chris fan. I mean, it was hilarious. The names of the horses and people are screaming, go, go, go. And the horses are coming down. I like horse racing. I just don't bet it. I don't know about it. I will go over some of my bad beats. I had some bad beats this weekend. Like I had the Houston Texans. A classic of a classic game. Stroud leads them down into the game. Touchdown. But I'm giving 2.5. Their kicker went out early in the game. Who knew? Because we don't have the sound on the game. I just got the game on the screen. They knelt for the PAT to end the game for me to cover.
Oh, I don't know though. Their backup running back made a field goal earlier in the game for
They
them.
just said, you know what? We're winning the game. It's the end of the game. I'd never seen anybody knelt on a PAT. That's a bad beat. That's bad.
Oh, that's right, because there's still time on the clock. So if they would have scored it with no time left, they wouldn't even had to kick the extra point. But
You don't seem to be wanting to get prime glasses anymore.
Colorado lose? I didn't even know they played this weekend.
Wow. Do you realize I'm in the airport? He's on the cover of Time magazine. I said to my good friend Dean, who you know, I said, hey, how's this aging? I did bet Colorado, though, and got the 13 points against Oregon State and won. But
That's right, because they.
But I will say this. We will talk about this at some point when we start talking about these new managers. Deion Sanders' clock management as a head coach was an absolute embarrassment at the end of the game. It was embarrassment. And when you talk about being, I've popped off about him being an NFL head coach. There's a reason why you need the right person, a Bruce Bochy, running your ship, because management does matter. Deion Sanders, it was embarrassing at the end of the game. I came home last night from Reno, went onto YouTube. I was so disturbed by it. As someone, I've worked in football a long time, all right? Worked in football over a long time, been on sidelines. I've watched it, game management in football. As you're playing fantasy football, I know you don't care. When you're playing fantasy football and you're betting on football, you don't care. But in the game of football, that's why Bill Belichick is considered one of the greats, because his players will tell you he knows the rule book. He knows how to manage the game. There's a reason why you call timeouts at certain points. There's a reason why you go for it on fourth down at certain points, or you go for 2. There's a way to manage games, especially at the end of games when you're down, to still give you a chance, especially if you're down by 2 scores. What Deion Sanders did at the end of the game was flat out Harry High School. It was embarrassing. And then after, the Colorado media wouldn't even ask him about it. I will get into that.
He also demoted his offensive coordinator and brought Pat Shurmur in, and the offense stunk. And he's a defensive coach, and their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
So
no more talk about his son being the Heisman anymore. I'll tell you that. And Caleb Williams, do you see him crying after the game? And everybody's like, "Oh, it just shows his passion." And then we saw people going, "Oh, he's just a kid." No, he's not a kid. He's stuck around for another year. He's not a kid, and he's making millions of dollars. Are we still trying to play that an athlete making millions of dollars is just a kid?
Yeah. The one thing that was funny before we get to emo. I don't know if you saw it on X, but someone shared a tweet of him last year when Max Duggan, the quarterback from TCU, was crying in a press conference. He just said LOL as a quote tweet, and then that happened. So it's like, oh boy, that's a bad beat.
Where's Scott Emerson, my pitching coach?
Hey, I'm right here.
How are you, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Season's over.
Man, it's hard. It's hard to believe that baseball season's done with. It's gut-wrenching, I guess.
All right, I did the calculation. I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but I believe we are 98 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Man, and I can't wait. It's going to be exciting times, in my opinion. A great spring training to run out our guys and watch them battle for their jobs and see the exciting players that are going to come in and the new players that will probably go out and try to sign, in my opinion. And spring training is always a good time to watch these guys go out and compete and battle.
All right, so when we start like today, if you're watching MLB Network like I was, and you have a lot of the managers that are changing, but down below on the ticker, you start seeing whose options got picked up, whose options were declined. The business of baseball is starting to go. We're going to have free agents start signing. Do you like pay attention and follow like which pitchers? Like immediately I thought of a guy. He's kind of an interesting character, but he throws really hard. Like a Joe Kelly all of a sudden is not going to be back. And I go, you know what? For the right price, Joe Kelly could be a guy in the A's bullpen. Do you sit there and do you monitor like which players are going to be available out there?
I think you always, you go out there and follow the trade rumors and follow the hot stoves in the off seasons. But our front office goes out and does the best job that they can to bring in the guys that, we can bring in. And, my job is to go out there and coach them up when I get them. But, there are some interesting names out there, and there's guys that you've watched for years, and you always think, man, it would be fun to have Sean Manaea back or guys like that, So, it is interesting to go and see who's out there, but I let the front office, do their job. They're great at trying to put together the best team that we can possibly run out there on the field.
Yeah, you had such a great relationship with that group, and it was a special group. Obviously, it was a rotation that got you into the postseason. And you think about Bassett, and you think about Manaea, and you think about Frankie Montas and that group. It just really became a special group. That was a very close group, and I know you were very close to them. Speaking of new managers, when you heard Stephen Vogt as the new manager of the Guardians, what were you thinking?
Man, what a great journey for Voter. I was really happy for him. I got to text him. I texted him, told him congratulations. He got back to me. Might have been an hour later, but when you got guys that have a lot of heart and passion and what Stephen Vogt brings to the table, it's good for the Guardians. They're gonna love that guy. They're gonna love his heart. They're gonna love his passion. And, I saw one tweet out there that somebody already said, "I believe in Stephen Vogt." It's just good for him. And he's a guy that loves this game, who's very passionate about it, and to be able to stay in the game and get a job like this, first of all, you got a good job with the Mariners right out of the chute, and then now he's managing a year later. I couldn't be more happy for him.
But he's never managed before. I mean, that's a reality. And it's funny, the day that David Ross, remember we were all so like, oh, Rossi's so great. And he's great with the media and everybody loves Rossi and he's a World Series champion. On the day that a catcher with no experience gets fired, he's a catcher with no experience gets hired. He's going to need a lot of help. So from a standpoint of staff, how important is bench coach, hitting coach, pitching coach, front office? He's going to need help. How does someone like yourself really have to take the time to understand that he's going to need some direction in a lot of different places?
I think one thing you do is you sit back and you realize that when you're catching and when you're in this game a long time, you're always sitting on the bench, even though you're not the manager of the team. You're thinking about situations. You're thinking about who you would bring into the game. I'm constantly thinking about the pitching and how we're going to play this strategy and how we're going to move into something. It's the manager's job to manage the game, and we have great communications before the game about what we want to do. And then my job is to kind of, if Kotz says, hey, let's go in this direction. If we talked about doing something different before the game, I want to remind him, hey, remember we talked about this before the game, because the game comes at you really quick. And that's what, in my opinion, the managers use their coaches for during the game, is trying to reinforce the plan that we talked about before the game. And yeah, there are some gut moments where you go with your gut, but the data, that's the first thing we always start with the data. How are we going to play this game? The first thing that Voter has to do, in my opinion, is when he gets his staff together, is talk to him about how we're going to play this season out. What's our process? How we're going to play this game? Whether you want the pitchers to pitch to the big side of the field, 7, 8, 9, or you want them to pitch to their strengths and go after the hitter in that type of way. So you always have to understand what that manager wants. The manager's job is to manage the game. The coach's job is to coach the players and get the most out of their ability to play the game. And then hopefully you collaborate before the game, help out the manager, how you're going to do things, whether the hitting coaches and the bench coach are talking about when we're going to use pinch hitters. We're talking about with the bench coach and the pitching coach to the manager when we're going to bring in certain matchups, who's available today. That's one thing a lot of people don't understand is not every reliever is available each and every day.
No doubt.
When is it a good time to, you're down 4, you might go to somebody else to hopefully he can just finish the game and save the rest of the bullpen. Voters going to go out of the chute like anybody else and want to win as many games as you possibly can. You just, like I think we talked about on that last episode, how do you manage that bullpen? And that's where you use your resources, and that's your analytic department and your coaching staff.
That's a great point. You mentioned people don't know, but correct?
Yeah, each and every day, during our throwing program, myself and the bullpen coach are walking the line. We do have a usage sheet that we use as a guideline that tells us whether the guy, should be capable of pitching or not pitching, but communication with the relievers of how you're feeling today. Sometimes, some of those guys, and I want them to be honest, some of those guys will go, I think I can give you an inning. Then you start to know, okay, I got to be smart enough to know that verbiage is probably, he's not really sure of himself. Some guys will say, hey, today. And some guys will say, I feel great. I'm ready to rock and roll. So you start understanding their verbiage. And, some guys will kind of tell you, let's go back to Liam Hendricks when he pitched that game against the White Sox and he went 2+ innings. The next day he told me, I don't feel great. I can give you an inning, but I don't feel great. And we went with Liam anyways, and that was the day he was throwing 100 miles an hour, and he saved the last game against the White Sox, and we moved on to the next round. I think at that point in time, Liam feeling it at 80% was just good enough for us to use him to save the game.
Then don't you think it would be helpful to tell the post-game show guy who's available, who's not? So when all the callers call after the game and complain that this guy didn't get used and this guy didn't get used, I could then say, well, there's a reason.
Well, I think, Townie, you played this game. You're smart enough. You could probably cover it and say, hey, this guy pitched 2 days in a row. They probably didn't want to go for a third day in a row.
Fans don't care. They go, he's getting paid millions of dollars. He should throw every game.
Yeah, I hear you. And sometimes that's the case. And, but it's, sometimes you just really have to manage people too and what they can do and what they can't do.
All right. This one thing I want to get into, and I thought about it. I was in Reno this weekend. It was our guys' football trip, and we were betting football weekend. And just looking at the numbers, and I know we talked about this a little bit, but the teams that score first this postseason were 32-9. Folks, that's a 780 winning percentage. If we were winning gambling at a 780 percentage, we'd be billionaires, right? A gambler wins, a successful gambler is like 52% of the time. If you're winning as any sports team, 780 is incredible. I hear all the time how long the season is. Well, an NFL season's long, NBA, they're all long now. Is there a way from a mental standpoint to really, throughout a season, keep the urgency? Because to me, when I saw the Braves the last 2 years, I see the Dodgers the last 2 years, they flopped. They have no urgency. They cruise into the postseason, and the other teams, they've got sharp knives. They're ready to go, and these guys, boom, 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 they're gone. Is there a way to keep up the urgency in a baseball season, even though we play every day and it's a long season? Because, boy, when it comes time to play postseason baseball, the numbers say it. Score first, every out, every pitch, defense, field every ball. The teams that play with that urgency are the teams that do well in postseason play.
Yeah, I think in the postseason, you're always trying to win every inning, in my opinion. Try to shut down inning, try to score a run. And like we talked about on the previous episodes, when you score runs and you take the lead, your pitchers feel a little bit more at ease, whether it's true or not. But when you're winning the baseball game, the pressure's on the team that's losing. So they have to fight to do more. That's why tacking on runs is important. Sometimes moving runners over earlier in the game just to gain that advantage. Look, you just said the number. So what am I trying to do? Score first. Do anything you can to take that lead. In my opinion, even if it's early in the game, even if it's the regular season, always try to score first and put pressure on the other team.
Yeah, so is there something that we could do from a standpoint with the players to make sure, especially teams that are really good, to like play those tricks, play those mental tricks, do something, and stop saying, hey, it's the dog days of summer, going, it may be the dog days of summer, but in a month and a half, you're in the postseason and it's a doggy dog world. So, and everybody's wearing milk bone underwear. Thank you, Norm. Cheers. But I mean, that's the way it is. So it's like, how do you keep urgency going through a long season? Can you do it? Is it even possible?
Well, it's always trying to keep your players motivated to go out there and a lot of players and we're always playing for the name on the chest, but we're also playing for the name on the back, as well. My dad always told me, don't go out there and embarrass yourself. Play hard. Give it everything you got each and every day. And if you look at like what the best players in any sport do, they're just relentless. Those are the guys that just go out there, and when you're down, they keep kicking you. They go after you. When Michael Jordan won championship 3, he held up 4 fingers. He was already ready to win another championship the next year. When he won championship 4, he held up 5 fingers. I'm going after number 5. And just, the elite of the elite are never satisfied, in my opinion. They just want to keep getting better and better. And those guys can get better because they have that ability to get better. So, in everything that elite athletes do, they want to win. You play a game of ping pong, they want to win. They want to get after it. They're not just playing to play, they're playing to beat you. And that mentality, from the best of the best makes them the best.
When you now look at the postseason and you watched it, is there anything that you learned from this postseason?
Well, man, you look at what the Texas Rangers did. They went out and got 2 players that play skilled positions and hit in their middle infielder with Marcus Semien and Seager. And then they went out and got one of the best free agent pitchers available in Evaldi. And then obviously they got Max Scherzer. They went out and got DeGrom. Talent goes out there and competes each and every day. So, you're always trying to look for the best players. And then sometimes the best players just need more time. I look at our team, I look at our staff, and, they just need more time. We got guys that are, in my opinion, are going to be really good baseball players. They just need more time. And sometimes we're not patient because we want to win the World Series next year. Look, I'm going to leave the house for 8 months. Do I want to win the World Series? Yes. But most importantly, I want to stick to the process, get these guys as good as they're capable of being to give us a chance to win as many games as we possibly can. And then over time, we're just going to get better because we got some talent on this team. We got guys. We might not be World Series ready, but we're going to build that mentality. Mark Kotze comes in and does an amazing job of getting these guys motivated to play each and every day. And that's what we do. We go out and we play as hard as we can, and we're going to try to win as many games as we possibly can.
Yeah, when you think about your starting pitchers next year, I know we've talked about it. And, if we're going to look at these numbers about how the bullpen is dominant and the bullpen gets you better numbers in the postseason than your starters do, that means you can't burn these guys out. You're going to need those bullpen guys to still have bullets in the gun by the time you get to the postseason. What's going to help you with that is your starters going deeper in games. What will those conversations be like? Because there was a lot of starts that didn't go very long for the A's last year. How do you preach going into spring training? How do you preach to these guys about their workouts and everything in the offseason? Like, you've got to get us more outs. You've got to give us more innings.
Yeah, I think throwing quality strikes, having good command, being able to move the ball around, some balls in play early in counts. And then when you get to 2 strikes, you're able to go for that punch out. Obviously, guys that pitch to swing and miss, in my opinion, are guys that are just, throttling that strike zone and pounding strikes the best they can. And their stuff is so good that they're going to get swing and miss. So you got to teach everybody to pound the strike zone, throw as many strikes as you possibly can. The more strikes you throw with plus stuff are the more swing and miss you can get outside the strike zone. The more strikes you can throw with average stuff and change speeds and keep hitters off timing are the more soft contact balls you're going to get in play. So obviously the object is, look, I really want our guys to just really focus on right now going 6 innings. Go 6 innings the best you can. Try to get 6 innings in 100, 105, even 110 pitches. Fill the strike zone up. But now, what's the process to do that? The process to do that is have quality command, change speeds, take the punch out when you can get it. And the more strikes we throw, the better we're going to be. If you look at our teams in the past, we just threw a ton of strikes. We threw a lot of strikes. We pitched to the edges of the plate. Did we throw some more balls down the middle, statistically speaking? Yes, we probably end up throwing more balls down the middle, but we were throwing more strikes. So we got to get this group to believe in their abilities to throw the ball first inside the box, and then second, pitch to the edges of the plate. Try to command the edges of the plate. Fastball is a pitch that can get hit, but it gets hit when you get it close to the middle of the plate. So have that ability to command the baseball to the edges, get that breaking ball down and away, get that changeup down and away to your arm side, and look for that consistent command of strikes, change of speeds, get guys swinging early, maybe get some balls in play early, and then with 2 strikes, take that opportunity to try to punch some guys out.
I know during the offseason, you're always looking to learn. You're always looking to find ways to help your pitchers. This offseason, is there anything really new that you're looking at, that you're trying to find, that you're trying to get better to be able to help your pitchers?
Well, for the last 4 years, I've always been into the motor preference of a pitcher, of how he moves. I really believe if you can maintain a good, solid delivery with good movement, that it increases your success rate of command. So, I've bounced around. I've gone to Tread Athletics this offseason. I've gone up to the Wake Forest pitching lab and just kind of collaborated and talked to those guys, and they do an amazing job with their data. What was great is we're pretty much on the same page in a lot of things, but just learning some extra things that they're doing in their facilities. Because, when our guys leave us, they do have outside influences in the pitching world. And what I want to do is understand what these outside influences are doing and know who our pitchers are talking with and what they're trying to accomplish. We leave them each off season with something to work on, something to do, and then they go to their off season guy. And I like to hear what they're doing on a consistent basis. But, all the studies out there, I love to be up to date. But we got a really good support team, or I feel like I got a really good support team in our analysts. Rob Neighborhouse, one of our assistant GMs, kind of heads up Pike Goldschmidt, and a lot of the guys. Pike's one of our analysts, and Ethan Stewart, our biomechanist, who we hired last offseason to help me understand more, what the data is telling us on pitching mechanics to a whole higher level than we've seen before, about total body movement and sequencing and timing. So just learning more about that. I've taken a lot of courses and classes on it, but to have experts in their field being able to collaborate, I think it's a really fun.
There's no doubt. I mean, look at us. We're 2 former pitchers, right? But you're 6 what?
6'5".
You're 6'5" left-handed. I'm 5'9" right-handed. There's no way our biomechanics work the same. So to be able to figure out what's best for you, I mean, you're going to be more of a fall guy down the mound. I'm going to be more a lower body drive guy, right? In theory, everybody's different. Everybody has, but they're the way we would pitch, being 6'5" left-handed versus 5'9" right. So it's like you need to understand how everybody moves, everybody's arms, their slot, everything's different. It's interesting. We were so just worried about radar gun now, and now we've been so worried about what what basically StatCast and what the numbers and spins and all that. But really, how does our body move to make all that happen better? That's kind of the new frontier.
Yeah, in the in the motor preference world, I think what we call an aerial and a terrestrial. Aerials are more dependent on low T-spine mobility, and terrestrials high T-spine mobility, meaning they can disassociate better with their shoulder to hip separation, where aerials are going to depend on more snap. Look, like I said, and you said it, I'm 6'5", you're 5'9". I'm going to look at the strike zone more from the top to the bottom, and you're going to look at the strike zone more from the bottom to the top. So there are such things as tall and fall pitchers. There are such things as drop and drive pitchers. It's just kind of quantifying that. But what it also does is it kind of puts guys into how we should be training physically. You're going to have a tall and fall or an aerial guy probably do more plyometric-based exercises, and the terrestrial, the drop and drive guy is probably going to do more power-based exercises. Pitchers, their arm action, they're long in the back, they're short in the front, or they're short in the back, long in the front. So there's just a lot of different things and a lot of different body parts. So it's always intriguing to understand how the body moves. Now, I wish I could equate that to my golf swing, but I haven't got to that part yet.
Don't even go there.
Well,
why is it going left? Why is it going right? Why do I hit behind the ball? Oh,
yeah, I played in Pinehurst today, and I was all over the left side of the fairway, the right side of the fairway, and then the left side of the green, the right side of the green.
But some people say you got to see the whole course.
And I got it beautiful. I got to see the whole thing.
And then there's the aspect. I one of my old pitching coaches in college said to a guy, "Hey, you're the 10 man." And everybody's like, "You're the 10 man. Yeah, you need to go see the Wizard. You ever see the Wizard of Oz? You got to go find a heart, son." And everybody's like, "Wow." Sometimes we also got to find out what's in here. We got to find out pitchers. Like, you can throw 180 miles an hour and you can have everything. But in the end, when the game starts and you put a catcher and an umpire and a batter, and we got fans, it's on television, it's on streaming, it's on terrestrial radio, it's time to compete. And all that stuff you did in the offseason, great. All the stuff you did in the bullpen, great. Do you get me outs or not? Do you have that heart? Do you have the intestinal fortitude to go out there and compete at the highest level?
Yeah, that's the pitching component. We can get a guy in the bullpen, and we can work on his arsenal, and we can get his pitches better. And then all of a sudden, we have what we call white line fever. You cross that white line, and you're like, "Look, man, I swear, in the bullpen, this guy is awesome." And then you look at the data and the numbers, and all his stuff is really good. And then just for some reason, you go out in the game, and like you said, the lights turn on. We used to call it a 5 o'clock hitter, right? He can hit homers and BP, but now he's got to face, big league pitching with exploding breaking balls and changing speeds. The balls are moving different. This is not an easy game. And, you have to go out. If the game was played on paper, sometimes it would be great, but it's not. The human element does affect people. And, some people just can't do it. And you want to get the guys out there. And that's why, like I always say, 60 starts. Get a guy 60 starts. Get him comfortable. Let's see where he's at. Let's see if he can breathe. He can't breathe out there. We need these guys to breathe. I know, we've had a lot of rookies, pitch for us in the last couple of years. And, they come off after that first inning and they're like, "My legs are shaking so hard." It takes time and patience. And, like I said, though, we got a hard-working group, and it's fun to work with them.
Well, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us for all these years, really. You've been fantastic. I know Ken Korak says it. I say it. It's been great to have you a big part of our pregame show, and it's always great to have you here on A's Cast Live. I don't know if there's a pitching coach in the business that gives as much time as you do, and obviously as a veteran of being in radio and doing radio, you're excellent at it. Thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, everything you do for us. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Christmas. Keep your phone on. We'll reach out in a little bit, but Thank you for everything that you've done, helping us through the postseason, through the season, and I'm excited for 2024.
Yeah, me too. And I appreciate coming on. I love A's fans. I've been in this organization now, 21 years, and the green and gold is special. And we're just going to keep going out there and do the best we can and keep grinding.
Well, you're a coach that cares. There's a lot of people that, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But how you feel about your pitchers, how you care about the players, how you care about their well-being, and you care about them mentally as much as you do physically, it really, really shows. And it just goes to the relationships that you've had with your pitchers, and that even though they may go to other organizations, they've told us, what you've meant to them in their careers, what you've meant to this organization. It's second to none. So you be well, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Scott Emerson, the pitching coach of your Oakland Athletics. We got a Hall of Famer next. That's right, a Hall of Famer. And his team just won the World Series right here on A's Cast Live. This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. You got to go to their website right now, linksoul.com. The new polos are unbelievable. New colors, lighter weight. We got our new summer shipment, Cody.
I couldn't be happier. I look better, all thanks to Link Soul.
So we're talking about new polos. You can check out their shorts, anything you need for summer. They have it right now. When you go to their website, they've got a smoking summer deal. Go to linksoul.com. That's linksoul.com.
Hey, it's Eno Saris, your friendly neighborhood baseball scribe. There are two things I love, baseball and beer. When I'm not busy around the ballpark, you'll likely catch me back with a cold one at any of Fieldwork Brewing's 8 locations sprinkled across the Bay Area. Fieldwork's got a rotating lineup of over 20 beers on tap that's as diverse as any 26-man roster. They got everything from super juicy, hazy IPAs to crisp pilsners and tropical sours that make your taste buds do the wave. Whether you're all about that draft life or prefer to grab some cans to go, Fieldwork's got your bases covered. Check them out at fieldworkbrewing.com to learn more. That's fieldworkbrewing.com.
Thanks to the Xfinity 10G network, my little brother's friends won't leave our house. When I was their age, internet with basically no interruptions was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Now through December 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Switch today. Requires paperless bill and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity internet. After promo, regular rates applied internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
This is Chris Townsend, and if you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see my friends at the Chicken Pie Shop at Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Streaming from the town, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
I talk about this all the time, how players, managers, coaches, front office, they come and go. And when you win a World Series, it is about the players, it is about the coaching staff, it is about the front office. But I'm also happy for the people who are like we are, longtime employees that are there through the good years, there through the bad years. And our next guest has been there since, I believe, 1979. He's a Hall of Famer, and to think he was once calling minor league hockey down in Texas, and he's now a World Series champion. Eric Nadel, the Hall of Famer, with us here on A's Cast Live. Congratulations to you, everybody there with the Rangers organization. It has to feel great. Can you hear us? Eric, can you hear us? That was you texting him.
No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't him?
No, so let me text him and tell him that we're going to bring him on.
Keep him on. He's probably going to come on at some point.
Well, yeah, hold on. That was a great intro.
That was a great intro.
There, hold on. Let's see.
Eric, you there? Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us. Let me text him. Let's see if
Now just keep him there. We'll figure it out.
Hey.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, I had my whole thing muted. I don't know how I did that, but here I am.
You just missed one of my best introductions of all time.
Oh.
I talked about the Hall of Fame. I talked about you've been there since '79. I made the joke that minor league hockey announcer. You missed it. It was wonderful. But you know what? Congratulations on being a World Series champion. Because the one thing I will go back over, for all of us that work for these organizations, it is all about the players and the manager and the coaches in the front office. But these guys come and go. I'm so happy for you as someone that's been doing it for a long, long time at such the highest level through the good and the bad. Congratulations on being a World Series champion.
Thanks, Chris. It's been almost 5 days now, and I'm still in the clouds. I really am. The parade experience was so exhilarating. It hasn't worn off yet.
Yeah, because you kind of you think about all the years, and the Rangers got so close. You think how you tasted it, and it was so close. And then when you don't get it, you just wonder, will it ever happen? I like that we're having you on a few days later because you've had some time to really reflect.
Yeah, and the parade was just so powerful emotionally. They had a float for all of the broadcasters. So Matt and Jared, my broadcast partners, were on it, and Dave Raymond and Mike Bassick, who does a lot of the pre and post game stuff and formerly played for the Rangers. And to ride through 600,000 or 700,000 people and see the joy on their faces, really the delirium on their faces, was really a moving experience that reminded me of just how important what we do is to people and how great an escape we provide, from all of the issues of everyday life, and all of the darkness that's in the world. And it was a really uplifting communal event. I was at Woodstock. That was 400,000 people.
Yeah.
This is almost twice that many people. And this, the joy, the collective joy is something that I've never experienced before.
I talked about earlier when we came on, since this is our final show to wrap up the playoffs before the next time we'll be on, we'll be at the winter meetings in Nashville. But I talked about how the Rangers are very similar to the A's, where you're always fighting for your brand inside the market. Football, basketball, it's always going to be bigger. And I think about, you build the new ballpark so you can have every single game without the weather issues. And then COVID hits, so you don't really get to enjoy the new ballpark. Things have been tough for the Texas Rangers. You're always second to football. And, here comes, whether it's hockey or it's basketball, I just, for those longtime Ranger fans who have been there through all the hot games and through all the weather and the rain and all the stuff, I just feel so happy for them because it is a great fan base. It's a loyal fan base. Just talk about just, how for them, it's not about the Cowboys now. It's like the Rangers finally, they get their title and it's for your fans.
Yeah. And so much of it now seems to be about erasing those bad memories from 2011. That in itself is as heartbreaking as it was for Ranger fans, I thought brought the community of Ranger fans together. And, the whole idea of the Rangers being a failure was kind of reinforced by that, which is really so odd because, the team got to the World Series 2 years in a row. But the way they lost in 2011 made people feel so terrible. And then, the fact that the last 6 seasons before this year, the Rangers had losing records, people's whole attitude about the Rangers was extremely negative. And to go from that to this, to being on top of the baseball world, is so uplifting that it's so rewarding for the fan base. It's just really gratifying to see. Ranger fans have been incredibly loyal over the years.
I think doing it the right way and doing it with class. We've had Bruce Bochy on this program a few times, obviously, from his days in San Francisco. I think about Chris Young. I think about Chris Young inviting John Daniels to be a part of it, because John Daniels, obviously, he dedicated a big part of his life to the Texas Rangers. The way everything's been going with this franchise and this organization, listening to the managing general partner after the game, just a lot of clash. Just talk about how the way things are going with the Rangers, they've done it the right way, and it's like they've been rewarded for it.
Yeah, I'm really proud to be associated with the organization. And, they spent a lot of money. There's no question about that. But they did it on individuals with very high character. They were very careful about that in order to develop a clubhouse, that would meld together and, have the kind of collective attitude that a team should have, that the team first rather than the me first attitude. And I think Chris Young, did a great job of that. And, all of his people in vetting the free agents the Rangers signed and the people they traded for. And, even the so-called problem guy, Aroldis Chapman, was a model teammate once he got to the Rangers. And, maybe the whole experience in New York and having to sign with Kansas City for this year humbled him. But, he fit right in with the rest of the guys. Everybody did. And John Daniels was the guy who acquired most of the players. And, people do tend to lose sight of that. And I was so proud of Chris Young for constantly bringing up the role that John Daniels had in every interview that he did all through the playoffs. Each time the Rangers would advance to the next round of the playoffs, he would always mention John Daniels and the people who worked for JD who aren't with the club anymore, which includes AJ Preller, actually, the general manager of the Padres.
Yeah.
But also some of the people who are still here. The assistant general manager, Josh Boyd, is still with the Rangers, and he was part of those 2010 and 2011 teams. So he suffered through that. Mike Maddox was here in 2010 and 2011. He left, went to Washington and St. Louis, but, he was here, and finally got his World Series ring. So, for people like that, it's especially rewarding.
When I think of Bruce Bochy and all the different managers that you've been around since 1979, what was the difference with Bruce Bochy and this organization?
I think he's a combination of all of the best traits of all of the best managers that we've had. He was a motivator, as good as Ron Washington, who was the very best at that. He was a game strategist. Right up there with Buck Showalter. He was the best at that. He was a calm, assertive presence, kind of along the lines of a Johnny Oates, who managed the Rangers' first three playoff teams, division title teams in the late 90s. He has everything you could possibly want in a manager. And on top of that, he probably has better instincts than any of those for just the magic touch on when to make a lineup change, which he's reluctant to do, but, does it at the right time, when to make the pitching change, which starter to use as a reliever, which the Rangers clearly had to do throughout the playoffs because they went into the playoffs basically with only three relievers who, he deeply trusted. And it seemed that every single move he made, was correct. Even coming out of spring training when he took the rookie Josh Young and he put him in the 5 hole in the lineup. It's a raw rookie, who was called up in September last year. He gives him the responsibility of batting 5th. And, had he not gotten hurt and missed 6 weeks, he would have won the Rookie of the Year award. And, Bochy somehow knew that he could handle that load.
You think about certain players, and I'm so happy for Marcus Semien, obviously a Bay Area guy, former Cal Bear, grew up in San Francisco, as somebody who shows up every day for work and plays hard. Marcus Semien is salt of the earth. Nathan Eovaldi gone through all those injuries to finally, do it again, win again, but keep proving that, you can keep making it happen throughout a career. And my God, how big he's been in the postseason. And I think about Corey Seager. Ever since Seager came up, no one's ever doubted his talent. Ever since he came up with the Dodgers, no one ever doubted his talent. He was phenomenal in the COVID playoffs, NLCS MVP, World Series MVP. It's always been a question, can he stay healthy? Has he now cemented himself, what he's done now in 2 different postseasons, and you look at all the different numbers where he ranks, he cemented himself up there with some of the postseason greats.
His numbers are very, very close to those of Reggie, in October. Very similar number of games, similar number of at-bats, similar number of RBIs. And he raises his game to another level. There are just a certain number of players who are already, very good or outstanding players who are able to take it one notch higher. And I think Marcus made that point better than anybody when at some point in the playoffs, he said, we've seen the regular season, Corey. That was impressive enough. And now we're seeing the playoff Corey, which is even better. If Corey hadn't gotten hurt, I think he would have given Ohtani a serious run for the MVP. As it turns out, he's going to finish second. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And Marcus will probably be in the top 5 as well.
Let's end on this. When you think about that long flight, you get in the playoffs on Saturday night, Sunday, everybody plays at noon, our time. And, you guys were playing in the Pacific Northwest, so you were noon also. You lose that, Astros win, and then you got a long flight to Tampa, a lot to think about. Something happened. I don't know if that there was a meeting, not a meeting, but there was something that clicked that people said, you know what, I'm not thrilled with this. We're going to go take it out on the Rays. Then we're going to take it out on the Orioles. And let's get into this battle with the Astros. Something happened from Seattle to Tampa, and it worked.
And nobody can say what it was. None of the players have been able to explain it. They don't think it was any sort of conscious thing. But somehow the team came together in, a totally unpredictable way. And after having a losing record on the road during the regular season and really struggling to score runs on the road, they wound up scoring like crazy on the road in the postseason, averaging, about 6 a game on the road in the postseason and winning every single one of them. It's, how Ron Washington would describe it. And his explanation is as good as any. That's the way that baseball go. And, when you ask the players for their explanation, they don't have any better way to describe it than that.
Well, I got to tell you, we have been thrilled all these years that you've come on this program as we've developed it. Obviously, you're a legendary voice in our game. We can't tell you how happy we are for you, the rest of the organization, to finally win that World Series. So congratulations. Enjoy this offseason, and we'll talk to you in the new year as we get ready for 2024.
Thanks, Chris. Always fun to talk to you. You do such a great job. Thanks.
The legend, Eric Nadel, the Hall of Famer. He just said it. Rangers stunk on the road. But yet you just start looking at the numbers. How do you explain it? The Rangers are the first team, MLB, NBA, NHL. Have you ever heard of the NBA?
The National Basketball Association.
How about the NHL?
National Hockey League.
How are our Sharks doing?
Going the game tomorrow.
By the way, I said Reno and I screwed up. So it's during that. When you get there at 9:30 in the morning, because I went down and I made the early bets before 9 o'clock, because that's when the 9 o'clock games where they started. Went back up, showered, got ready for that. Came back 9:30. I was there in the sports book from 9:30 till after UCLA, Arizona. That was the late game. And I kept telling everybody, lock of the day is Sharks Penguins over. Lock. It's a lock. It's the easiest bet in the world. And then all of a sudden I look up and I went, damn, they already start. I forgot to bet it.
Oh, it's okay. What was the over on the game?
6.5. They had it in the second period.
Well, the Penguins scored 10 goals. So
that was the lock of the year. I could have bet my kids' college fund.
The Sharks are struggling a bit.
No, it's early. You guys, just like the baseball season, you guys all say it's early. You baseball media.
Well,
it's early.
See, while the Sharks are getting destroyed by the Penguins with Sharks Flyers tomorrow, I'm going to go watch the Sharks win their first game against Philly.
The Broad Street Bullies.
Flyers are not coming to San Jose and bullying the Sharks. I was watching the Canucks play the Dallas Stars in at the barn in Canada.
Well, that's right. You were in Canada for your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Canada was
How was
great.
Canada?
Canada was great, actually. Everyone there very nice.
Everybody's very nice.
Not like the typical Americans. They were very nice.
Oh, wow. Then you take a
fired.
shot at your country. Wow, anti-American.
Everyone's nice there, eh? We had a great time. Vancouver's a beautiful city. But if you want to do stuff, tourism in the city, the outdoor stuff with the suspension bridges and the gondolas and the Stanley Park, we had a great time. I'm glad we got to the hockey there. Hockey night in Canada on Saturday night. Pretty sure every team lost, but Vancouver that night. But the Rogers Arena where the Canucks play, great.
Hockey's
spot.
so big here. Why'd they all move here? I mean, there's questions you need to ask, right?
I'm pretty sure Wayne Gretzky retired as an American, played on an American team when he was done.
Married an American, kids were born in America. Mr. Hockey.
Yep.
What? And what am I missing? It's like all these European players in golf. They all go to school here, all get married here, all have their kids here. And you guys still want to talk about barns and sweaters. All right, here you go. If you don't know hockey, if you don't watch hockey, that joke makes no sense.
Real quick, while I was there, I'm a big Lululemon fan. Went there. Canadian dollar goes a long way, or U.S. dollar goes a long way in Canada.
You got some new spandex pants?
I got some new pants that were only $30 after the gift card you and your wife graciously gave me for Christmas last year. So I immediately texted your wife and said, I got these pants for $30. She goes, wow, you're very resourceful. I wanted to respond, you can just say I'm cheap. That's fine.
Yeah, because my wife is not resourceful.
Neither is mine.
My wife sees it, buys it, does not care. You will keep the gift card for months. You kept it for almost a year.
Well, I bought one thing and I had money left over.
Wow. Yeah, you are resourceful / cheap.
Very
I wish my wife was resourceful / cheap.
Same.
All righty. Rangers are the first team MLB, NBA, NHL history to win 11 road games in a single postseason. Now, that's skewed a little bit because we have more playoffs than ever before, but tells you a lot. It really tells you a lot. That home field advantage in pro sports. I think college still matters a lot. Pro sports, the numbers show it, home field advantage, because you're seeing less and like we're trying to figure out what would be the home field advantage in the NFL. In right now's NFL.
I would say Arrowhead.
No. What gives you home field advantage?
Oh.
Arrowhead.
The Chiefs are pretty good at home, but
that's good. They got good players, but what's the home field advantage? I've done games there. Have you ever been to Arrowhead?
No.
Not scary at all. They're not scary.
What about the 12th man in Seattle? I was just there yesterday.
Does not matter.
Oh wow! Shots fired at the 12th man.
Yeah, because they stink now.
What do you mean they stink? First place, Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, they got drilled yesterday by the Ravens.
Everyone's being drilled by the Ravens.
I think maybe like Lambeau Field in the cold.
They stink this year, but yeah, that's a good one.
Right? Like super frigid cold. If when they're good again, playing in that brutal heat in Miami early in the season, it's hot as hell. I've experienced all these, by the way.
No,
actually, when I did Lambeau Field, it's like 70 degrees.
Yeah.
I was in shorts, but I'm saying I could just see like
not Pittsburgh.
But where's the home field advantage? I don't think there is. Like the days of the Boston Garden and the dead spots in the parquet. Every arena is the same. I mean, it's an arena. It's an arena with a bunch of rich people. What do you think a bunch of people walk into Chase Center and go, oh my God, look at all these corporate tech people. Ooh, and they got foam fingers. Oh, they're all wearing the same. I mean, do you think an NBA guy walks into everybody's wearing a yellow t-shirt. We're in trouble now.
The best, okay, real quick. There was an article 12 years ago in ESPN. I loved it. It was one of the places I wanted to visit in Vancouver. I went there. It was a great spot called the Roxy. Teams would go there before games playing the Canucks. They would get so drunk they played terrible the next day. Canucks had the best home record in hockey. That's home field advantage.
Well, the Vegas flu.
Home ice advantage.
In the NHL, the Vegas flu is real.
Yeah, they call it the Roxy flu when they did it in Vancouver.
Yeah, the Vegas flu. So, but I'm talking like, what's the advantage, right? Like all the arenas now in hockey, there used to be ice was different. But this is stuff that was archaic, man. That was old. These old arenas like the LA Fabulous Forum. Hell, where the Clippers used to play right next to the LA Coliseum, where USC, that's now the soccer stadium. They tore down the old LA Sports Arena where the Clippers played. I mean, look, like where the Warriors played Oracle, it's now Chase Center. Everybody's in these arenas that's just rich people or people who are well off. They're not scary. Is a home court really scary in the NBA or the NHL? And football is the only thing that I can think of where you may have elements. Like if it's super windy and your kicker doesn't like
Buffalo.
Let's or like the Meadowlands. Meadowlands, it blows the entire game in New Jersey, and you got someone who doesn't. I mean, there's not really a lot of home field. Baseball, there's no home field advantage. What's the home field advantage of baseball? The Rangers won 11 games on the road. They couldn't win at home, but could win on the road.
Didn't Arizona win 7? Aren't they undefeated also?
I know that the Rangers and Arizona are both undefeated when they scored first.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, no, Arizona did lose a road game because they would have lost the first game of the World Series. So yes,
they lost. Yeah, when they give up the 2-run shot.
Yeah. So yeah, but undefeated when they scored, both undefeated when they scored first. Also a good stat.
So the days of home field advantage. Remember, it's like, oh my God, they're going into the Bronx. Like everybody was scared of the Yankees going into the Bronx. Is anybody scared going into New York?
Well, you have to be in the playoffs to be scared to go there.
But is anybody really?
I don't think so.
I know TV still tries to build that up. I don't think people are afraid of the Bronx anymore.
The friendly confines of Wrigley Field.
Maybe in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, these farm kids going to the big city for the first time. I think that's dead.
Yeah, I can't really think of a home field advantage in baseball.
All right. Yeah, what would be the home field advantage?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like this one stadium that's like, oh, the fans just
can't play in Atlanta. What?
Yeah, I don't think there really is one. If I had to pick one team that has a really good fan, maybe the Cardinals.
Why?
It's hot, muggy.
A bunch of Midwest people are scary. Nobody in the Midwest is scary. No one's scary. Raider fans, scary. St. Louis Cardinal fans, not scary. All right? And then again, when everybody's like, oh, the Oakland Raiders. Did you see what the record was? The home field advantage was not there, as they were well under 500 forever.
You want to talk about having a whole new perspective and attitude? Raiders smoking cigars in the locker room yesterday.
Back, baby.
McDaniel's gone.
Raider Nation is back. We're back. Yeah, I said we.
Who they play next week? I don't even know.
Doesn't matter. It was about this.
Oh, it's Monday. It's Sunday Night Football. It's Jets Raiders.
Wait, it's Jets Chargers tonight. Yeah. Jets are getting back-to-back primetime games.
The Aaron Rodgers effect. He's not playing. So the Zach Wilson effect.
All righty. Before we get to Mike Ferrin, Sirius XM, we had big news today. Our own Stephen Vogt, who we just had on the program. That was at the end of the season. Stephen Vogt is now the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. How do you feel?
I like Voter, so I'll say good hire. We'll see what he has. I mean, it's better than being a recycled guy that that's going to be there. No offense to Buck Showalter.
I said it earlier. When David Ross was hired when we were in San Diego, or he was hired just before. That's the famous. That was for the winter meetings. Or in Theo Epstein. You don't know Rossi. You don't hire Rossi if you're going to hire a puppet or whatever the hell it was. You still have that?
I'm going to look. Keep talking. I'll see if I haven't.
Oh, you're not hiring Rossi if you're going to hire a puppet. Well, you hired a catcher with no manager's experience because everybody loved him and he was good with the media, had just kind of started a media career, hired him. He got fired today.
I don't have it.
And Stephen Vogt, who has no managerial experience and 1 year of coaching experience, is now a manager. Isn't that funny? So the catcher, no experience, hired as a manager, fired today, and now another catcher, no experience, hired today. Aaron Boone hired out of the booth.
Alex Cora hired out of the booth.
Has had success. Did Alex Cora ever coach before?
Oh, I'd have to look.
Like, did he ever went down and did the Caribbean League or do anything like that?
Great question. I just remember him being on Baseball Tonight and he got hired. David Ross was on Baseball Tonight.
Well,
so was Aaron Boone.
Craig Counsell is now the highest paid manager in baseball. The big rumors were he was going to go to the Mets, but Carlos Mendoza, the bench coach for the Yankees, I actually kind of like this hire. He's the bench coach for the Yankees. He will now be the new manager of the New York Mets. Stephen Vogt to the Guardians, Craig Counsell to the Cubs. That is kind of the big, but if you kind of look at it, as he stays in kind of the neck of the woods where he lives. A Wisconsin guy. Both his kids are playing in the Big Ten. I guess he's got 2 daughters that are in high school, so he's still in the Midwest. God, everybody thought he was a for sure lock to join David Stearns in New York, and that's not the case. Carlos Mendoza is the ultimate grinder, right? 13 years in the minor leagues, managed in the minor leagues, made his way up through the Yankees, bench coach for the Yankees, gets the job. I could see the total fit there. Knows the market, has been around, analytics, but grinder as a catcher, been through a system, one system as a coach, as a manager, and then now a bench coach. So he's kind of bringing the experience with the analytics and his age. I want to say he's like 43.
43, yeah.
So I can see that higher. So, I mean, we still got a bunch of openings, right? Milwaukee's open, San Diego's open, L.A., Anaheim, L.A. Angels is open. Houston's still open with Dusty Baker. So a big change there.
Trying to think if there's anyone else. I think those are all the jobs that are still available, right? Yeah. So 4. I've been trying to check Twitter to make sure we don't miss anything. I haven't seen any updates of who's getting. A's news. Hold on, breaking.
Wait, what?
The A's have claimed Miguel Andujar off waivers from the Pirates.
There you go.
Former Yankee.
The offseason is upon us. Mike Ferrin, our buddy from Sirius XM, joins us. He was just calling games in the Arizona Fall League. Ferrin, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Well, number one question about the offseason is where are we going in Nashville?
Have you ever been to the Gaylord Opryland Hotel?
No, I have not.
There is nothing near it, and it is impossible to escape. It's basically like the old Hotel California song. Like, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave because you can't actually find any of the exits.
Well, I did see Escape from Alcatraz, my friend, and I will escape.
It is really, really hard to get out of that place. It is. I can say this without any malice intended. It is my least favorite hotel that I have ever stayed at anywhere. It is massive. Like it basically has all of the feel of being in a casino that just happens to not have gambling in it. Like there's a river that goes through the damn place.
Ooh,
it's weird. It's really bad. And one of my favorite stories, I had somebody tell me once, when they were a GM of the team, they had met in the suite. This is probably 15 years ago. So it was before like super prevalent cell phones. They had met with a team and he had said, or the other team had said, all right, well, let me get back to you guys. I'm going to go meet with my personnel, see if we can make this deal. It took them 45 minutes to find their room because they got lost. It's so easy to get lost. By the time they got back to the room and they called this team, they were like, sorry, we moved on. We never heard from you.
We couldn't find.
So that's what the hotel is like. Yeah, it's an experience. You're breathing recycled air. It's terrible.
It's one of the greatest God hemes of all time on Intentional Talk. I can't remember what year it was, but it was at this hotel, and the guy's on his cell phone. He's walking and slams into the fountain and goes face first.
That's the Wyndham Anatole in Dallas, and I was there that night when that happened. That was in Dallas. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was one of the best. I know exactly what we're talking about because I was just in Reno for the weekend. We did our annual guys football trip. So I was just in a casino without seeing sunlight for 48 hours, but I had gambling.
Right.
I had gambling.
Yeah. You don't get that in Nashville, unfortunately. So.
All right. You wake up today. I know we were going to talk Arizona Fall League because I think, everybody's moved on. Everybody's into football now and everything. Arizona Fall League is definitely, Stott will tell you, he goes from Arizona Fall League to playing for the Phillies to being in the World Series. So you can make a huge impression on people in the Arizona Fall League. And Mason Miller did that exact same thing. It's one of the reasons he got to the big leagues with the A's last year. But all of a sudden, it was Cody here it was a done deal that Counsell was going to the Cubs. That was going to the Mets. He had it as a done deal. And I wake up today, Rossi's out. He's now in. He's the highest paid manager
Mhm.
in baseball. Our buddy Stephen Vogt, who we just had on the show not too long ago, is now with the Guardians. Mendoza, I kind of like this hire. It's interesting with the Mets going from the Yankees bench coach, a longtime minor league catcher. He's been a manager in the minor leagues and now a bench coach. What do you make of everything going on with the managers today in our game?
Well, I mean, as you know, I, like you, am close with Stephen Vogt, and he's one of my favorite people in baseball. And the fact that he's going to be a manager so closely removed from his playing time, I think speaks to how he's viewed. We'll see whether or not, we can never really predict, right, whether or not somebody has success as a manager. And a lot of it has to do with the personnel that you have. But you could not have hired a better person if you were the Cleveland Guardians. And I am so excited for Voter. I know he is too. I love the story. I don't know if you guys saw this. That apparently, I think it was Zach Meisel in The Athletic said they offered him the job on Friday over a Zoom, and they had interrupted him from shoveling horse manure. So generally, we're the ones who are shoveling horse manure, but Voter apparently was doing it. So I was super excited for that. Carlos Mendoza, I don't know super well. I know he has a really good reputation. It's an interesting hire with a veteran team to go with a young manager, but I think part of it was probably because they were spurned by Craig Counsell, and this is the fourth time in the last decade we've seen a sitting manager dismissed for a free agent manager. It's happened with the Cubs twice. It happened 9 years ago with Joe Madden replacing Rick Renteria. It happened with the White Sox with Tony La Russa, Rick Renteria was fired with the idea that they were going to hire, it looked like AJ Hinch, and they ended up hiring Tony La Russa as a result. And then you had it in Anaheim with Joe Madden replacing Brad Ausmus. So it's something that has become much more of a trend. My understanding is that the Cubs were not going to ask for permission from the Brewers to interview him before his contract was up because they didn't think they were going to get it. And so I don't know if it's because the process took longer to allow permission for teams to interview than what was originally thought, that Counsell was still kind of available at that point. Like the Brewers didn't really, I don't know if they were asked for permission or didn't grant permission until very late in the process. But as a result, the Cubs talked to him. He wanted to be a little bit closer to home. I think he's got two sons that are playing Division I baseball. Obviously Milwaukee is a lot closer to Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin than Chicago is, but it's still about 90 miles. And, he can still train in Arizona, have spring training in Arizona. It's a massive hire, and it changes the equation for managers and their salaries. And I think that's part of the process here that's really interesting. Counsell's a big member of the Players Association, a real union advocate when he played. And he kind of took the same tack to this. For my money, he's the best manager in the sport. I think he's the best combination of communicator and tactician. I think he should be the highest paid manager. The fact that he took the smallest market in baseball to the postseason 5 out of the last 6 years, and the 1 year they missed was by a single game, speaks to how good he is at finding the right matchups and making the decisions that help to get the most out of a roster. And I think he's going to be incredibly successful in Chicago because I think he's a very, very good manager. I'm very sad for David Ross, who I've known for a long time. I think we've all been in that position, right? Where you've been replaced by somebody that you didn't see coming, and it absolutely sucks. But Craig Counsell is going to do great work, I think, for the Chicago Cubs.
How do you look at the other jobs still available?
Yeah, I mean, San Diego, I think, to me, I tried to make the case this morning that really the perfect fit there in terms of how his mind works with how I believe their front office works is Mike Shildt, who is one of the internal candidates. One of the reasons why Shildt was let go in St. Louis was that he wasn't quite in lockstep with the front office. Mike's a little bit more old school, and so is the Padres front office in a lot of respects. I think Schulte is just like he's a real student of baseball. He didn't play at the professional level. He was a high school coach. He became an associate scout. He became an area scout. I've always joked that he's the guy at the American Baseball Coaches Association convention that you're sitting up at the bar with at 3:00 in the morning designing bunt defenses. Like that's the guy that he is. He's great. I love Mike.
And you're like, hey,
yeah, no, it's like it doesn't necessarily need to be that you've had a few too many oat sodas. It's just that like you've gotten so involved in the conversation on bunt defenses that for 4 hours you've been outlining them, right? And like how to run the wheel play properly. So like I think he's a good fit there. I'm not sure what they'll do in Houston. I think Joe Espada deserves an opportunity to manage there. It sounded like from Bob Nightingale that Dana Brown, the GM there, was really pushing for that. And then for Milwaukee, like, I mean, now they've got to start a search, and I'm really curious to see where Matt Arnold goes. They're head of baseball operations. Matt's time, before Milwaukee was with the Rays. Be interesting to see if guys that are connected there, or whether he was with them or not, start to get names. Craig Albanez was a name that's not particularly big, on the coaching, on the managerial market, just because of, I think, the nature of his job and the fact that he's just not, he wasn't a big league player. But Albanez interviewed for the Guardians job, and he's one of those people behind the scenes that when you talk to people who were with him with the Rays, and I haven't talked to any Giants people with him, but I would not be surprised if they feel the same way, that he's a guy that they feel like is a future manager. And so I wonder if that's a fit there, because there's some connection there. So I'm curious to see where Arnold goes. And the Angels are a weird situation, right? Like you've got a GM in the last year of his deal. The owner was going to sell the team, then didn't sell the team. Like, it seems like a lot of established guys or internal candidates is what they're looking at. And Ron Washington's name was floated today by John Heyman. And boy, if you want that team to catch the ball, you hire Wash. Like, he deserves a second opportunity. I know you guys feel the same way about Wash as I do. Like, I really would love to see Ron Washington get another chance to manage, if not for any other reason than just like when he's managing and you get a chance to sit in the dugout with him, there's nothing like, I mean, Wash is the best, man. Like, that guy's just the coolest. So I would love to see him get an opportunity there, because I don't think he cares that it's a difficult situation, because Wash's job is going to get those young men ready to play every night.
Every day.
Going
to work hard every single day. Fundamentals. Wash is going to have, we've seen it firsthand. We did with Marcus Semien, Eric Chavez. I mean, you see, we've seen his art. We've seen the art form, and as a motivator, Wash is one of the greatest. I want to get into the postseason.
Yeah.
When I think, because we've had two guys on today. We've had Scott Emerson, our pitching coach, and we talked about the urgency. And can there be this urgency that you build and learn and deal with in the regular season that helps you for the postseason? Eric Nadel, Hall of Fame voice of the Rangers, was on earlier. Rangers stunk on the road this year. They didn't score on the road. They didn't win on the road, but they won on the road in the postseason. Teams who score first. I mean, all these different things that have happened. What's the thing that you took away from the 2023 postseason?
I mean, I think it's what I take away from most postseasons, that it's like we really want to go like try and find deep meaning out of what happens in baseball playoffs, and it's a fool's errand to do that. One of my favorite things that kind of gained more traction this year is there was a study. I think Ben Baumer, who's with the Mets now in their front office, was part of the guys that did the study on this. This was a few years ago, and they were comparing baseball's playoffs to the NBA. I don't know if you saw this, but the NBA, 80% of favorites win in the postseason, right? It's like 80% win.
A lot, yeah.
In baseball, for that to happen, every series would need to be a best of 75. So when you're talking about
best of 75,
a best of 75 for each round, right? So like that's the nature, right? Like, so you talk about like the difference between, let's say, the Diamondbacks, who are an 84 win team, and a 96 win team, is basically 2 wins a month. I mean, the talent levels are much closer together in that. And you saw it. The A's beat good teams over the course of this last season, right? Even though they did not have a good year. I mean, when you're dealing with short series, anything can happen. So I think the number one thing to keep in mind is, or I think there's two things to keep in mind. One, don't take anything out of this postseason that you really think you're going to apply as a general rule to a baseball regular season, because it doesn't matter. It's not going to play out that way. We're dealing with very small samples of games, even though they're longer series than what you have head to head. I think the other thing is, and having a chance to talk to the commissioner during the World Series, he kind of echoed this. This is the goal. It's not to give the best teams the best chance to win. That because of the nature of baseball, the playoffs are going to be more unpredictable than they are in other sports. And I think what it should reiterate is your job is to get into the dance, and then anything can happen. Arizona absolutely 100% proved that, right? That's a team that was outscored on the season by 20 runs, 15 runs. They won 84 games. That's the third lowest total for a pennant winner ever. And they were 3 wins away from winning a World Series championship. So what you should take out of it is, if you get to the playoffs, you have a chance. And that's what teams should take out of it. And personally, I think that's what fans should take out of it, because you should be demanding that your teams are trying to compete. 40% of the league makes the playoffs in each league. That's a lot of playoff teams in baseball. That's a 50% increase from where we were in 2011. Think about that. That's a huge increase. So just try to get to the postseason. Try to win is really what matters. And now we're going to get to see this offseason how many teams actually care about winning in 2024.
Yeah. What is your roster when the postseason starts? Where are they? Where's your health? How are guys playing? What you're doing in May and April, beating up the A's in Kansas City in July doesn't matter. Where are you when the postseason starts matters. Another thing that I took away, and we've been seeing this in the NFL, we've been seeing it in the NBA, and I think it still really exists in college football, but home field advantage is not what it used to be.
Well, it doesn't really exist in baseball to the same degree it does in other sports. I mean, I think there's enough.
It doesn't even really
show that.
Look at the other sports.
I mean, it's
home court, and even in the NFL, it's not what it used to be.
So I don't know that it ever was what people think it used to be in Major League Baseball. I think that's the thing. Maybe it has changed some in those other sports. I haven't seen enough research into it. I know traditionally that it mattered the most in the NBA, and then I think football, and then the NHL. And, obviously those one-off games, like if you're playing in, like a conference tournament or something in college basketball, and you happen to be playing, like, let's say you're playing at San Jose State, right? And they're hosting.
You better not come here. You're going to get your ass kicked if you come here. Let's just go.
Okay. All right. And the Warriors losing the semifinal in an off one game, right? Like that happens. Like that's going to happen. It's probably something Kevin Franzen did wrong to cause it, but like that's he wanted me to say hi. But I mean, that's one of those things that's going to happen. And I think with baseball, like when you look at it over the course of the season, most teams are around, 5 or 6 games over 500. Good teams are maybe, 8 or 9 games over 500 at home. And so it's really not that big a difference, right? So I think a lot got made of the Astros struggles at home, and it ended up playing out that way in the LCS, but I don't think that's why it happened. I mean, to your point, the Rangers weren't very good on the road. And would they go 11-0 this postseason away from home? So, like, I think most of what we analyze, even and to just kind of push back on some of what you said, what your roster looks like and how well you're playing down the stretch doesn't really matter. Remember, the 2 teams that were in the World Series, the Diamondbacks got swept the last weekend of the season by the Astros, and that was after an absolutely miserable performance in the last game of the series against the 100-loss White Sox, where they lost. The Rangers dropped 3 out of 4 in Seattle, right, and lost the division on a tiebreaker. Like, neither of those teams were red hot going into the playoffs. All that matters is what happens on those given days. And I think the more we embrace that, the more we can get excited about playoff baseball. It is not the same as the regular season. They are 2 completely different beasts. I wish we had a President's Trophy in baseball, because I think winning your season with a 162-game grind is the most difficult thing that can be done in team sports. But the tournament's still pretty cool, and I think we have to embrace how different it is.
Arizona Fall League.
Yes.
A lot of people parachute out, and it's football season. We care about pro football, college football. Obviously, television ratings show all of that.
I don't care about pro football because I'm a Bears fan. So,
and you sons of did not cover this weekend against the Saints, and I will.
Well, there's a shock. Let me tell you how bad it is to be a Bears fan. Okay.
Yeah.
People are losing their mind over a Division II quarterback saying that he might be the future there because he's completed 2/3 of his passes. Never mind that he's thrown twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. And it's all from replacing the guy who's a first-round pick who, like, has a quarterback rating in the 90s and twice as many touchdowns as interceptions. Like, Bears fans are out of their mind. Like, it has been so long since we've seen good football, we don't know what it looks like anymore.
You thought Rex Grossman was bad. Now you take him back.
Give me Sexy Rexy any day. The Sex Cannon, I am all about Rex Grossman.
Where's the funky QB? Jim
The
McMahon's
best
not
Bears-
walking through that door.
I want you to know that legitimately, and you can look it up statistically, the best Bears quarterback of my lifetime, I'm 47, the best Bears quarterback of my lifetime is Jay Cutler.
Smoking Jay?
Smoking Jay.
Smoking Jay.
Which is the single greatest website ever. Like,
You're not
I mean,
going
nothing captured the apathy of Jay Cutler quite like that.
You're not going Cade McNown?
Oh, man. I'm not going Henry Burris. Or I saw somebody tweet a photo of Peter Tom Willis at Florida State today, and I was like, man, I remember when I thought he was the future.
I miss Jim Miller.
Oh, God. It's just every organization. You can look at every organization. Like we were talking about yesterday in the casino going, you literally have the Falcons and the Vikings. It's a battle of backup quarterbacks. It's like, It's amazing the amount of quarterbacks now people are using. It's unreal. But back to the Arizona Fall League, when you're using backup quarterbacks, you're trying to find your future. As a program director would say, get it back on track.
Right.
Arizona Fall League's a big deal. Right? Like we're following. What's Max Muncy, Brett Harris? What are these guys? Like, how can you help yourself in your future down there in the Arizona Fall League? Because everybody in baseball is watching.
I last year got a chance to see quite a bit of the A's prospects there, and I think I remember raving to you about Mason Miller. Like that was a guy that I was really excited about. Thought the arms were pretty good. I thought Geloff looked good. So last night was our first broadcast. We had the Fall Stars game, so we get to see a little bit of Max Muncy last night. But we have 3 Mesa games starting tomorrow. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we've got live broadcasts of the AFL, and all 3 games are in Mesa. And I'll tell you, I'm really excited to see Brett Harris. I go back to college with Brett Harris. I saw him play at Gonzaga and was a big fan, like really good defender, good idea of the strike zone. I didn't know that he was going to turn into this kind of, solid prospect. And he's flown under the radar, I think, in part because he's a little bit older. But
he's like 25.
Yeah. But he was one of those COVID kids, right? Like he came back. He probably would have been drafted in 20 if the draft had been a normal, length. And he went back in 21 and put up good numbers for, Gonzaga is a pretty good baseball program. They're really good in the West Coast Conference most years. So anyway, I'm excited to see Harris, because I think he can play the position well defensively. I think he's got a really good approach. I think it's maybe average-ish power, but I think he's got a chance to be a pretty solid lineup contributor. I also am really intrigued by the fact that they added Lazarito to the roster today, right? Like we'd heard that was going to happen over the weekend. And Lazaro Armenteros was a very famous, Cuban amateur. He was a guy that people were really, really excited about. It has taken him a while to get going, but the power numbers started to get pretty loud in the second half. So I'm really curious to see those guys. For whatever reason, the A's system never seems to get ranked very highly, and yet they always seem to turn out players. And I don't know if it's just that they have, I don't know if it's maybe they're able to develop out of the limelight a little different, or maybe it's just that they happen to hit, spots in the Texas League and the Pacific Coast League that aren't covered quite as well by either scouts or by organizations that do the rankings. But they always seem to have guys. And to me, maybe less so than Muncy, who's pretty, well known and still very, pretty well regarded. I think those 2 guys are really interesting to me because I don't think they're without merit, right? Like we saw this last year with Lawrence Butler. Like Butler was a guy that jumped off the page in the Fall League, and there was no talk about him last year. And he had a really good season. He made his big league debut this year. So I think if you're excited and you want to hear live baseball, I recommend you listening to our Fall League broadcast. But I personally am excited to see a number of the A's guys, because it always, if there's one organization that consistently goes, yeah, that guy's kind of a dude, it's the A's.
How can we listen? Where are you?
Well, the games will be on MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM, so you'll hear them at, 5 Pacific on Tuesday and Thursday, and then 1 Pacific on Wednesday afternoon.
Channel 89.
89.
All right, let's end on this because we just recently had the San Jose State baseball golf tournament, and kind of like the changing of the college sports world, it's not going to affect us in the Mountain West. That's West Coast, Mountain West teams right now. But everybody else, Pac-12 is gone. It's sad. We're seeing all this movement into the SEC. We're seeing into the Big 12. My God, Stanford and Cal being the ACC is going to be a joke. Just as someone who calls a lot of college baseball games, we're talking about how does this affect football? How does it affect basketball?
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to affect college baseball?
Man, I am really curious to see. I mean, I think, I think we've talked about it. I'm unbelievably sad about the dissolution of the Pac-12.
Oh.
Like, it is terrible. For me as a Midwest kid, like, the Pac-12 was the coolest of the cool, right? Like, it's palm trees and, warm weather and, like, it's places you dream of. And that's why I wanted to go to ASU as a kid, was because, I saw how cool it looked. And so the loss of the Pac-12 is going to be really difficult, I think, for us to deal with for a long time. I think from a baseball standpoint, the Big 12 is going to be a really good conference. I think adding the Arizona schools, Utah has had some moments. I think when you add in, even losing Texas and Oklahoma, but Central Florida and Houston and Cincinnati, some programs that care about baseball. I mean, Cincinnati made a great hire for their baseball program, Jordan Bischel, who had been the head coach at Central Michigan. He'd done a great job with the Chips. I think that's going to be a conference that is worth watching. I'm really curious to see what ends up happening with Oregon State specifically, because whether it's the Mountain West or the West Coast Conference or wherever they end up, you're going to end up with a national brand baseball power as part of it. And I think to some degree, a rising tide lifts all ships in that regard. And so if they end up in one of those conferences, and the WCC, tends to be a pretty solid conference that you can, last year they were a one-bid league, but it's not infrequent that they're, a multi-bid league. Or if they ended up, just as a baseball dream, like if they ended up in the Big West, that would be amazing. I mean, it would be really odd to have an Oregon school in the Big West, but then again, it's really odd having an Arizona school in the Big 12 or a California school in the Big 10. So I think those are things that I'm excited about. I also am really curious to see how the Big 10 handles baseball. Because Tony Petitti, who's now the commissioner of the Big 10, his previous job was working for Major League Baseball. And I am really interested to see when you add programs that have had a national profile over the last several years, like Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and then obviously the history of USC, if that can help to drive more attention and more revenues to baseball in the Big 10. Because we're not that far removed from a Big 10 team playing for the national championship. Michigan did it in 2019. 2020 and the Big 10's decision to play only conference games in these weird pods in 21 really sent them for a loop. But there are some very good baseball programs in that league. I'll tell you right now, Iowa is a sleeper to go to the College World Series this year. That is a really good team. Rick Heller's a great coach. And if you're walking into it at UCLA and USC, and I think Andy Stankiewicz is going to do a great job at USC, and if you're at Washington and Oregon, you want the competition to be great.
Rod Dato, the legendary coach at USC, is rolling over in his grave right now, thinking about being in the Big 10.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, nobody's looking forward to, like, do you think John Savage is looking to go to East Lansing in March? Like, that's going to suck. Like,
I know you're looking forward to Cal Wake Forest. That's what you're looking forward to.
Actually, that would be pretty good. Like, I mean, I think Mike New has, like, they haven't gotten over the hump there, but, like, there's some good talent in that Cal program. And that would actually, Wake is really good right now. So,
I was talking football.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
9 a.m.
I thought we moved
Cal
on.
Wake Forest.
Hey, Wake's decent at football right now. So, anyway, I think that there's a lot of uncertainty about it. My hope is that the power conferences that aren't the SEC and the ACC are going to continue to support baseball and maybe increase their support for it. Because I think if that happens, I think it has a chance to make the sport better. It's in a really good place talent-wise right now. The draft only being 20 rounds has pushed more talent to college baseball. It's a really, really good product at this moment, especially in the Southeastern Conference. And while the SEC is way ahead of everybody else, I think the other conferences have a chance, if they are willing to commit the financial resources to it, to try and compete at the same level that they do.
I know you always fight me, and I know it's always tough between us, but please, don't fight me on allowing me to buy you beers in Nashville. Don't fight. I know you always fight it. You always say no. You always demand that I not do it. Please, this time, because I always want to take care of you, because it means a lot that you come on our show, being the big national host that you are, play-by-play guy that you are, Mr. WBC. The fact that you come on our show, please don't fight me in Nashville, because you always fight me and never allow me to throw my card down.
2 things on this line that you're sending at everybody. 1, the reason I never let you buy me a beer is because I'm concerned you might hurt yourself because your arms are so short they can't reach into your pockets. 2, the fact that you made Eric Nadel open for me today should be the most embarrassing thing that you have ever done.
You're national.
Eric Nadel is a Hall of Famer. That's like Kenny Banya opening for, like having Seinfeld open for Kenny Banya. I am Kenny Banya in this. Who's ready to laugh?
Hey, you're national, my friend. You're on Sirius XM.
I am.
You're a big deal.
No, that's definitely not true, and you know that.
Well, your partner's a big deal.
My partner's a big deal.
But I
just like riding his coattails.
You really thought it'd be more fun to go to Arizona State than go down to Champaign, Illinois?
Oh, my God. My parents both went to grad school in Illinois. They threatened to disown me if I went there.
I think you made a good pick.
I didn't go to ASU in the end.
You did? Where'd you go?
Well, Tony, they often call Harvard the Loris of the East.
Where?
Loris College, Dubuque, Iowa. The Fighting Dewhawks.
You went to school in Iowa?
Hey, man, you ever spent a lot of time in Iowa? Iowa's a great state.
Really?
Yeah, it's my homeland. My family's from there. My dad's family, my mom's family. Iowa's a great state. Loris College, our most prominent alum is Greg Gumbel.
Oh, well, and you?
No, I said Greg Gumbel. There's a big
Greg Gumbel and Greg Gumbel. All righty, next time we see you, we'll be in Nashville, my friend.
I am looking forward to it. It'll be great to see you guys in person.
Beers on me.
Okay. I believe we're going to see it. See you, bud.
The greatness that is Mike Ferrin, Power Alley, Sirius XM, 7 a.m. It's not their morning show because they got to play to the East Coast crowd, but they're our West Coast morning show. Him and the great Jim Duquette, they do a fantastic job. I listen to them pretty much every morning because now that I'm up playing golf and I can go to bed earlier because we don't have a game, I get up and I tune into Power Alley every day.
I listened to him today. It was actually Ferrin and Franny were doing the show, and they had Brewer great, now Detroit Tiger great, Mark Hanna on their show.
Yeah, he's a Tiger.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing how fast you can start moving around teams?
It's his third team in the last how many months?
Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's the life of a major league player, and you don't have that. You don't have that contract. How would you think of? I was actually on the plane last night, and I got the notification, the video that Joey Votto put out.
I saw some of it about him talking about.
It's just about it's. I think it's less than 2 minutes, but it's very to the heart. Saying thank you to everybody in Cincinnati, and that is that tough call when you sign the guy long term. You sign him long term. You want him, and then all of a sudden, you don't get rid of him. You keep him. He's going to be your all-time guy. You would like him to retire and go off into the sunset, but he may not be done.
Sounds like
an Oakland A already. No, we got Ryan Noda.
Toronto Blue Jay already from Canada. Go home.
On the ticker this morning, you want to say sounds like an Oakland A already. Does Joe Kelly not sound like an Oakland Athletic?
Don't forget about say Miguel Andujar claimed from the Pirates. He hit 250 last year and 84 bats. Has been a decent hitter in his career. He's a career 270 hitter.
How old is he?
28.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's who the A's
collect players. I mean, where the A's are, collect players. find players. And it's going to be a year where, last year it was like trying to figure this thing out, right? Because you were coming out of a lockout. Please tell me excited. Oh, yeah, Torey Lovello.
There it is.
They've extended his contract through 2026.
Good for him.
Yeah. That's
So,
pretty cool.
I've been trying to just track and see if there's been any news on any new managers, but it doesn't look like anything's happened yet.
And we didn't even get to Peter Bendix, call him Peter, who is
I know him as Pete.
Now going to be the president. Can you guess what he is?
President of off-field baseball operations. I don't know. I'm trying to make up a new
They
title.
put this thing up today on MLB Network of like all the Rays guys that are now working in baseball and all the different titles. So I played a game with Cody. As I had it, I paused it. Cody was in the other room, but the way my house works, I could still talk to Cody being in another room. And I was like, let's guess what people's titles are. And it's crazy. It's like he's executive vice president. He's senior vice president. Everybody's got these titles. It's unbelievable. He is going to be the president. He's a PBO.
Oh, president
of baseball operations.
So they'll probably hire a GM then.
I'm just going to, over the weekend, being around a large group of my buddies, longtime buddies, and then being around a large group and, you talked to a lot of people. Saw some A's fans up in Reno, had some kind words to say about what we've been doing. I was very thankful to see some A's fans up in Reno. But when you're around a lot of people and all the things about football, Josh Spores was phenomenal. I had to bring up his numbers here. Josh Spores was a World Series playoff hero. 12 innings, 10 games, a 0.75 ERA. Did not give up a run in the World Series. Did not give up a run in the ALDS. Did not give up a run in the wild card. The only run he gave up was in the ALCS. He was instrumental. Now, if you're selling Josh Spores as a World Series hero, which he was, the bullpen, that's not good for your game. Let's get back to the bullpen, right? Corey Seager, okay, we into the Reggie Jackson stuff. Nathan Eovaldi, yeah, but when Spores is such a big deal, and the numbers that we have where the bullpens were such a big deal, that's not great for the game. And I was thinking about this, and a lot of baseball people aren't good at business. I've said this for years. They're not good at business. They're not good seeing the forest through the trees. We have talked about it. There's a reason why we created this, because we know cable's not going to be around forever. We told you terrestrial radio, not going to be around forever. That's why we created A's Cast. First, audio, now video. This is the future. You may have thought, people thought we were crazy when we were doing it, but we told you there's a reason why we're doing it. We got a lot of people copying us now. Baseball could be taking over 16 of the 30 teams broadcast potentially because of the Bally's bankruptcy. Think about that. Padres, they're already the first team truly affected. No TV contract. Where the hell's this money? Issues. I was thinking about it while I was in Reno. That baseball people, and I don't really want to even ask them about it because they won't have answers. Because they don't even, if you were in the 70s and you were trying to sell the DH to people, oh my God, look how long it took the National League to adopt the DH. Now we don't even think about it. But baseball people back then in the National League thought it was blasphemy if you talked about the DH. You can't talk to baseball people about change and about business because they're awful at both. They don't want change. Remember, everybody said, oh, pitching timer will never work. Pitch clock will never work. A clock in baseball will never work. How'd that work?
Our games are down by almost 30 minutes.
Yeah. In a couple of years, no one will act like it's always been here, right? It's like the DH is always. So you can't really ask true baseball people about change and about business. I just want to say this. Our model is slowly dying. our model that we all have these individual television contracts through cable is dying. And it's dying in front of our eyes. And the model that you see when you watch on Sundays, you got to remember the National Football League in the 80s, 70s wasn't doing all so hot. And baseball was way ahead of them. But what did they do? They played the scabs. They broke the players' union, and they were stronger because of it. And now they all share. All 32 teams, after expansion, now all share. They have one massive television contract. Look at college football. Why has college football changed the way it's changed? Why? Because the conferences all have these massive television contracts. Because football is a sport that's still going to last on network television. Basketball, hockey, we're already seeing it with hockey. The Las Vegas Knights, they're the Stanley Cup champs. And they don't even have cable. They have a subscription. You can buy the season or you can buy per game. That is the model that's coming. That's what's going to change. And so when the Philadelphia Phillies, and I can just speak upon the Phillies, they've got a television contract that before the start of the season, they can count on $250 million. NBC pays them locally for their cable. NBC, the cable, like our NBC, even though our NBC is not connected to them, but you know what I'm saying. Not NBC National, it's the cable. Pays them $250 million a year. That's their television deal. How many teams have that? Oh, you got Yankees, you got Mets, Dodgers still have over a $300 million cable deal with Time Warner, but the rest of the industry doesn't. So here's this issue. You got so many haves. You have so little haves and so many have-nots. The cable deals are but they're all going to come to an end at one point. So baseball now has to figure out its future path business-wise. And you have to realize it's not healthy that everybody has different deals. And that's why a team like Kansas City and Pittsburgh and Arizona, you name it, in football, they're not small markets. In baseball, they are. But baseball is going to have to change, and it's going to happen in our lifetime, and it's going to happen sooner than later. That you're going to have to – there'll be a different way for us to watch games. We've already started to get conditioned on watching on phones and on tablets and everything. But you're going to have to change to where the teams are all more equal. Will make for a better game. Because Peter Pendix being taken from the Rays and now going to the Marlins, and the Marlins saying, we want to be like the Rays. We have more teams that want to be like the Rays than want to be like the teams that are spending. So you can sit here and say, oh, attendance is up. Oh, the money's up and all that, but it's not filtering down to the game. So something has to give. We need everybody to be, as Mike Ferrin just said, the old expression, the tide raises all seas, right? Or raises all boats. We need the tide to raise everybody up so that you've got equal footing in Seattle and Tampa and Miami. And, you just go down the line. Everybody praised the Padres. This is why you should listen to the show. We told you last winter meetings we were tipped off, then spring training. This Padre thing's a disaster. We told you it was a disaster in the clubhouse, and it was a financial disaster. I had the intel. Like, we've had intel on, you didn't get this kind of reporting. Like, we're not trying to break news because we work for a team, so I'm out of that business. But I get intel on stuff. So now that they got all these stories about what's happened, Bob Melvin, Padres finances, Padres could be for sale, finance problems. We told you this over a year ago that this was going on. So sometimes we are ahead of the curve. But it just goes to show things are going to have to change. Because you can't have everybody wanting to be like the Rays. And at one point, everybody wanted to be like the A's in Moneyball. That's just it's not healthy. Because bringing it back to my trip to Reno, when you're watching football, no one's talking about players' contracts. No one's talking about money and options and what do we just have the players can opt in, opt out?
Oh, the qualifying offer.
The qualifying offer. No one's talking about a qualifying offer in football. They're talking about my fantasy team, my bets, my this, my that. They're talking about the games. It's almost like our sport is so much into accounting. We're like an accounting firm. We're always talking about money. Money, 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 money. Who's spending it? Who's not spending it? You need to spend it, but if you spend it, you don't spend wisely, you're an idiot. Does anybody – I watched literally football for 48 hours in a casino. College, pro, I had 1 million bets out. No one's talking about money. No one. They're not even, like, during the games, no one's even talking about the conference changing. They're talking about the games. Games. Baseball, all we talk about is money. And already here we are. Whose options picked up, who's not? Who's doing this? Free agents, instead of money, money, money. Who's not? A's aren't spending. These guys aren't spending. Everybody's not spending. I mean, it's just always about money, and people don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear it. You've got to get these franchises more on equal footing than ever before, or you're a sport that's going to be left behind. And you're already starting to see it. Record low ratings for the World Series. Record low. And Dallas is the 5th largest, or it's the 4th largest is it 4th or 5th?
I think it's
4th.
4th, yeah.
It might be 5th. 4th or 5th. No, it's 5th because San Francisco Bay Area is 6th. Dallas is the 5th largest television market. Arizona is the 12th. And everybody's acting like it's the smallest markets in the world. That's not the case. But yet, I can have Arizona-Pittsburgh, which is 2 small markets, have over 300 million people watch the Super Bowl when they played in it. Ben Roethlisberger against Kurt Warner.
Great Super Bowl.
So it's like, you've got to figure it out. Baseball's got to figure this out. You've got to stop. You've got to get more people on an equal footing to go forward, or you're going to be left behind. Let me tell you something. Sports is moving fast. You know who didn't move fast? Great example. Pac-12 didn't move fast, and they got left behind. And now this conference that's been around for over 100 years is gone. Big 12 was negotiating 2 years before their deal was done. They were in on getting a new television deal and really kind of saving their conference for long term. If you're not savvy and you're not smart in business, it's happening so fast, you'll get left behind. We used to be America's pastime. Now we're below the NBA. And what do people talk about? I've told you here. Our value now is just the fact that we have a bazillion games, and we can provide live entertainment for content providers. That's what our value is. But if you want to get back to real competing in this country for the entertainment purposes of getting as many eyeballs on your sport, you want to compete with the NFL and the NBA, boy, you got to change your model. Your model's got to get everybody more on an equal footing, and we can't have all this, oh, look, let's all take guys from the Rays and be like the Rays.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Now, in baseball, in our little baseball bubble, and all the analytic nerds, they all love it, but they don't care about growing the actual sport. They don't care. I do. I want us to be America's pastime. But we've been passed. We've been lapped. And if you don't get everybody closer to equal footing, and it might need a holy war to make it happen. I hate to say it, but that's what the NBA, that's what the NFL did, and the NBA had it. But the NFL was the NFL played the scabs. Bill Walsh was running an option offense with scabs. They broke the players, and it changed their game forever. I don't know what it's going to mean long term, because baseball people, you can't ever do that. Well, it's going to have to be some tough baseball decisions, because you're getting passed by. And when you got the Marlins want to be like the Rays, and then they want to be like the Rays, and then the Brewers just hired a Rays guy, and they got to be, everybody wants to be a Rays guy. Everybody wants to be like the Rays. Is that great for the sport when everybody wants to be like the Rays?
No, because they don't spend money.
You got to spend some.
Yeah. And they don't do it. They clearly don't. It's not their business model. They're not teams like the Yankees, Dodgers, Padres, Mets, Rangers.
But then you're seeing teams that do spend money. It's dumb money. So it's like
Padres, Mets.
And I know if I ask Mike Ferrin about a salary, it'll never happen. Oh, they're going to have to at some point have a cap. There's going to have to be something, because that's also one of the reasons why the NFL and the NBA have passed us.
I think if you don't put a cap in, you got to put a floor in.
You got to do something.
Yeah, there has to be something.
You got. It's basically then that would be an artificial. It's not a 100% salary cap like the NFL. By a certain point, you have to have all your salary, but you have like an artificial cap. You got to do something. You got to do something to get everybody closer. You got to get everybody closer. And good luck to this guy in down in Miami, Peter Bendix. I know you know all about him.
He's 38. He's only a couple years older than I am. A lot of the guys that hired from the Rays are young.
Yeah, and it also tells you a lot about why Kim Ng is no longer there. Like, they're not looking to go grandiose with the front office. They're trying to do – actually, the Rays front office is not that small. They've got a lot of analytics guys.
Yeah, they do.
But there's belief of where Kim Ng wanted to take the front office, and now where this guy is going to want to take the front office are two different models.
Yeah, for sure. And if they can kind of duplicate anything like the Rays are doing, like they want to do, good for them, because the Marlins need something like that. They need something. They got a lot of pitching. They need some offense. Josh Bell opted in, so they still have Josh Bell, but they need some offense if they want to win in that very loaded NL East.
But as we just talked about with Mike Ferrin, get in. He's an old school baseball guy. Eno Saris is an old school baseball guy, even though he's an analytics guy. They love the regular season, right? They want like a President's Cup, which a President's Cup is if you have the best record in the NHL, you get to put a banner up. Sharks got a banner. President's Cup. What does it mean? Nothing.
Yeah, Sharks won how many times? How many Stanley Cups they won when they won this?
Yeah, we want to applaud the teams that just beat up on the bad teams during the regular season. That's what we want to applaud. Because that's when you win 107 games, you literally torch the bad teams.
The best example to look at an A seed winning a championship was the Kings a couple years ago in hockey.
When they took down the Sharks, were up 3-0 on them.
Yeah, Kings came back, won that series. Sharks, they were the A seed in the West.
I'm kind of, I think, I don't know, maybe as I'm getting older and I get more into business, I now just kind of look at this whole regular season in baseball. Oh, it's so romantic. It's like, hey, it's great with Ronald Acuna Jr. did the rain. What do you do when it really mattered? Oh, it's random. Whatever. This is how it is. Are you showing up for the postseason or not? Corey Seager shows up. You going to show up? Derek Jeter showed up. A-Rod didn't. Like, guys, certain guys show up when the bright lights are on and there's urgency and you got to win and you got to do it. And these other guys are El Foldo. So that's great. You beat up on Kansas City in July. What are you doing in the postseason? And I do think, how does your roster look when game one of the – yeah, you could have Arizona. Arizona wasn't hurt. When Arizona started game one, were they hurt?
No.
Did they have pitching?
Yes.
I mean, DeGrom had been out for a long time. Scherzer was hurt, but I mean, for the most part, all the position players for the Rangers were ready to rock. What does your roster look like when the postseason starts? What is it? Hot or not, whatever. What does it look like? Even one of the Yankee teams, was it 99 Yankees who won part of that threesome? Or was it the 99 Yankees that did not play well down the stretch but still won the World Series? So it's not exactly how you're playing, but what's your roster look like when it starts? But I don't know. I mean, you're going to sit here and, oh, my God, this guy hit so many home runs, and it was great during the rain. Who cares? What do you do in the postseason? That's what matters. That's what matters. That's how you become a star. Baseball, you need to morph. Do we sit there and we talk about, Joe Montana was so great during the regular season?
No. Talk about great.
3-time Super Bowl MVP, Joe Montana. 3 times. 4-time Super Bowl champion. That's what you talk about. Bird and Magic saved the league. Why? Because they were winning NBA titles. And then here comes Michael Jordan. That's what we want. Stop telling me how great you are in April, May, and June, and July. No, great. We'll look at it on Baseball Reference. Do you show up when it matters? Because let me tell you something. The regular season, you've got to figure out a way to get human beings in the United States of America back to caring about your sport in the postseason. And I actually thought this was a great, because ratings were up. At not from what they used to be, but recently the ratings were up. You've got to start training and conditioning people to get into your tournament, because tournaments work. We know tournaments work. But hanging so much on the regular season, and oh my God, because you just don't want to accept. Braves were so great. Braves have flopped 2 straight years. Dodgers have flopped 2 straight years in the postseason, and they were hell on wheels in the regular season. What does it mean that you go in and beat the crap out of the A's right now, or the Royals, or the Tigers, or whoever?
Rockies.
Yeah, great. You own the Rockies. The Dodgers have absolutely owned the Rockies. They've owned the D-backs too, but they've owned the Rockies. What does it matter? Are we the only sport that puts such an emphasis? Ferrin said it's the hardest thing to do. I don't think in baseball there's anything the hardest thing to do in sports. Come try and win in the NFL. Come stand on the sidelines in the NFL and tell me what the hardest thing in sports is to do. You got grown men who are risking their lives and their futures to win games, to get a yard. Anybody in baseball doing that? No.
I don't think so.
No. But it was a fun season. This is it for us. Well, the next time we're back, we're going to be back. It's going to be Nashville.
Or as you call it, Smashville.
Did I?
I don't know. That's what people call it. They call it Smashville.
Why do they call it Smashville?
That's a great question. I just know they call it for the Preds.
Well, it's because everybody's getting hammered. It's like Vegas. It's like
Vegas of the South.
Yeah, so it's like everybody's going there for bachelor and bachelorette parties and everything. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. And hopefully we got some news. We'll have a lot of news. Look at all the news today we had on the managers changing.
Wow. NL Manager of the Year finalists. Council, Skip Schumacher, Brian Snitker. Snitker now the longest tenured manager in the National League, because Council left the Brewers. Longest tenured manager in baseball now. Do you know who it is?
Be Kevin Cash.
Cashy. Who's the American League? Because we had the debate about who was going to be up for the American League.
Wait. Longest you mean with one team?
One team, yes.
Yeah, longest consecutive going is Bob Melvin.
Correct. Cash, Cash is looks like Cash. Maybe they haven't released an AL yet, so I'm waiting to see who's the AL Manager of the Year candidate. So it's gonna be Hyde, Bochy, and probably Cash will be the top 3.
What if Cash doesn't even make the list? You're gonna have to eat some crow, my friend.
Well, I'll have to wait a long time to do that.
You're gonna why? Oh, you'll have to eat crow at the winter meetings. We want to thank Scott Emerson. We would like to thank Mike Ferrin and the Hall of Famer Eric Nadel for stopping by A's Cast Live. You have any final thoughts about the 2023 season, and maybe how you still owe me dinner, or anything you want to talk about?
I'm excited for Miguel Andujar, who the A's just claimed today. We're excited to see what he can bring to the team.
That's how you're going to end this show?
We're looking towards the future.
Spring training tickets, put it back up there. Spring training. We hope to see all of you at spring training. We hope to see a lot of you also at fantasy camp. Is that still athletics.com/fantasy?
I believe it's actually sold out, but you can still get on the waiting list.
Woo! There. Sold out. Spring training tickets, athletics.com/spring.
10th year at Hohokam. So come celebrate with us. A lot of good games. I'll pull up the schedule. A lot of good games at home for the A's. You got Colorado. You got Arizona, the Giants, Bob Melvin's other team, the Padres.
I won't even speak his name, that manager of the team across the bay.
Yeah. Cleveland and Stephen Vogt come to Mesa.
Oh, we're not going to take it easy on Voter.
So athletics.com/spring if you want to get your spring training tickets. I'm looking forward to that. It's still a few months away, but yeah, we're less than a month from the winter meetings. I looked it up. It is. You were asking, we were talking about earlier, the Rule 5 draft before we go. The Rule 5 draft will be on December 6th. The draft lottery is December 5th. So we'll find out where the A's draft. We'll find out if the A's take anyone in the Rule 5 draft.
You know, it was a tough year. There's no question. But you have to realize during times like this, we'll get through it. We will get through it. And we will cover this great game. And we will cover this great organization. And there's exciting times coming up. Winter meetings, fantasy camp, spring training. Can't wait. We got a lot of young players that are talented. It's going to be should be far better than what we've seen in the last 2 years. I believe that. I'm a full season of watching a guy like Geloff grow, to watch Noda just get better, like certain guys, to see all the different pitchers that the A's have. But in the end, it's baseball. And being around it, it's absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait. I can't wait to be at the winter meetings, the buzz, see what's going on. What's Ohtani going to do?
Going back to Anaheim.
You're going back to Anaheim.
I think Yamamoto might be a Dodger.
Yamamoto's going to the Dodgers?
Blake Snell, Mariner.
Where's going? The Giants are supposed to. They're spending money again. They're going to be the big players again at the winter meetings.
You know, I can see being a Giant, honestly, and I'm not saying it's a troll.
Who?
I could see them signing Matt Chapman to be their third baseman and reunite him with Bob Melvin.
Have fun with that.
See it happening. They need a third baseman. Their third baseman was just in the World Series. You might know Evan Longoria.
Matt Chapman had 54 RBIs last year.
Well, after April, he didn't do anything.
Wow. I'm always excited. I'm always going to look towards the positive and see what next year will be like. But so we won't talk to you for a couple weeks. My wife's now looking in. She's worried about me taking the dog to the vet live during our show.
Well, Spencer matters.
Spencer matters, yeah. So I do have to take the dog to the vet to get some shots. But next time you see us, we're going to be in Nashville. It'll be the winter meeting, so we're going to take a couple weeks off, and we'll be back in December 3rd, live from the winter meetings. Great year, my friend.
Same.
Can't wait for December. Can't wait for 2024. Can't wait for spring training. It's going to be great. But thank you for watching A's Cast Live. We'll see everybody in December.
Hey, it's Eno Saris, your friendly neighborhood baseball scribe. There are two things I love, baseball and beer. When I'm not busy around the ballpark, you'll likely catch me back with a cold one at any of Fieldwork Brewing's 8 locations sprinkled across the Bay Area. Fieldwork's got a rotating lineup of over 20 beers on tap that's as diverse as any 26-man roster. They got everything from super juicy, hazy IPAs to crisp pilsners and tropical sours that make your taste buds do the wave. Whether you're all about that draft life or prefer to grab some cans to go, Fieldwork's got your bases covered. Check them out at fieldworkbrewing.com to learn more. That's fieldworkbrewing.com.
This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. The new summer